It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Shedeur Sanders won't participate in the NFL Combine. The Rams give Matthew Stafford permission to talk to other teams, and the Yankees get rid of their facial hair policy, and much, much more on a new episode of Joba in the Mouth. The Mets are going to give him a significant. They're going to have a ton of money to spend. Why not put it in one of the top 3 offensive players in the league? We're going to be looking at Aaron Judge and saying that he can't win the big game. Michael Jordan said, I played 82 games. You don't see LeBron doing that.
This is a game where you got to go perform.
I told you, Giant fans, and Saquon Barkley at this point.
I'm gonna fight them all. A 7-nation army couldn't hold me back. They're gonna rip it off. Take it down.
Say whatever you want about Patrick Mahomes. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Really?
And I'm talking to myself at night because I can't forget. Back and forth through my mind behind a cigarette. And the nation's coming from my eyes. Can't get it alone.
Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new show of Joba in the Mouth. Boy, it is smoking. I wasn't smoking, but my arms are smoking after coming out from the gym. You're listening to another show of Joba in the Mouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Joba Chamberlain, and the speedster, Speedy Petey. Our executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman, and he's not here tonight. I am feeling bad. Owen the Tick Rickner is not in tonight, but we do have Tommy Poops the Scoop, as he is our sports minute, as we always call him. www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Joba in the Mouth, every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Well, it's been an interesting weekend. I can tell you that. It's been a cold one. It's been a warm one, but it gets cold, it gets warm, it's snowing, it's raining. Who knows what the weather is going to transfer into every single week? But hey, this is New York, that's Nebraska, and we're here to entertain you guys for tonight. Joba, how are you?
Good. Yep. We got the Jekyll and Hyde of Nebraska. We got to almost 70 degrees today. It's still actually
70 degrees over there in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's actually still 62 right now. So went outside, got a nice little workout in. It was nice to actually sweat. It was great. So yeah, it's.
You like to sweat? I hate to sweat. I don't like it. I was sweating.
Makes me feel like I actually accomplished something, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I was in the gym. I came home and I was telling everybody that I benched 125-pound dumbbells today, 10 times. I felt very, very good. And obviously I'm here. I'm here to entertain you guys for tonight, but it's I haven't lifted 125-pound dumbbells in a couple of years. I just felt like doing it today. And, I put up 10 times. I did 100-pound dumbbells about 15 times, and then 85-pound dumbbells about 20 times. So I did a couple of sets, and I felt very, very good on a flat bench. So I'm happy. I feel pumped. And, by the way, I want to give a shout-out to the people I work with over there at Northwell. And I'm not going to throw anybody out on the bus, but I will say one thing. There is a particular dispatcher over there. He's not probably listening. Thank God he's not, because if he was, I'd put my foot in his ass. Okay? I can't stand him. He annoys the hell out of me, and I don't want to say his name because if it does get out to him, it might cause me a little bit of trouble. And you know what? I don't even care. Brian, you know who you are, and I know you're listening. And if you aren't listening, I hope somebody points you out. You're a pain in the effing ass. That's all I'm going to say about that. But We have a great show lined up for you guys. A little bit later in the show, we are going to be talking to the one, the only, a 10-year vet in the MLB. He's been on our show before. And is he coming back, Speedy? Is he back here? Is he going to be playing this year?
He was briefly with the Rangers last year, but I think they cut him early in the season.
Well, hopefully,
the last time he was on.
Greene holds on forever. Greene's my dude. Greene and I go way back. Yeah, he's still fighting the good fight, man.
It's definitely good.
We talk every once in a while, so it's I saw that and I was like, oh sweet, I love Greene. Greene's my shit.
I will say this, and we're going to have Shane Greene on. Before the show even started, this guy is going to the bathroom. How many times does Tommy go to the bathroom? I am going to count during the show how many times this guy gets up and goes to the bathroom.
Has he legitimately been a doctor be like, my guts are I think they're messed up maybe?
I have no idea. The guy, every time, he doesn't drink that much during the show. I really don't see it. And this guy goes to the bathroom at least 4 or 5 times, maybe even 6 during the show. I don't go barely ever. And this guy's in the bathroom 5 or 6 times. I've never seen anything like it. Wherever he's holding it.
Usually get 1 or 2. And that's unless the other day when I don't know what I ate or whatever happened, but my stuff was hurt.
Usually
don't worry, he just had to pee. That's what he said. Don't worry, he just had to pee.
Usually I go to the bathroom. I go in number 2, probably 3 or 4 times if everything is flowing right. But lately it's only been 2. This guy probably goes to the bathroom like 7, 8 times. And that's not talking about urinating. I mean, this guy is
he's doing a number 3.
Oh, he's doing a number 3, number 4, maybe even a number 5. He's letting it go. I mean, he should go hang out with Fish, even though Fish probably doesn't go to the bathroom as much as he does. But that's a whole nother story. But we'll have Shane Greene on at 9 o'clock. So it'll be fun, as always, when we get our guest. Ian Rappaport reports that Shedeur Sanders will not participate in any drills at the NFL Combine. He added that Sanders is more focused on his team interviews to make a good impression on teams on who he is going to speak in person. Sanders has a meeting scheduled with teams beginning tomorrow and is not expected to restrict teams for his interviews. Sanders will throw at his Colorado Pro Day next month, saying he will be more comfortable in more familiar surroundings. Deion Sanders says him playing with 4 different offensive coordinators in college will prepare him for the NFL level. Sanders led college football with a 74% completion percentage last year and his 71.8% since joining Colorado in college football record of 2-year span. The top 3 pick in last year's draft, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May, also did not throw at the combine. I think Shedeur Sanders is a very interesting cat. Okay. And it's pretty simple. I know everybody's going to attack me on social media when I say this, but I do not believe Shedeur Sanders should be a top 10 pick. I really don't. I think he has a quality in him as far as standing in the pocket and taking a beating. I also believe he holds the ball too long. And as an NFL quarterback, if you do that, you're going to get killed. This is the NFL level. This isn't Colorado. You're not playing against second-tier defenses. And if you look at what he did last year, and I'll say this nice and fairly, who did he beat in the top 25 last year? How many teams, as far as defensively, did he beat in the top 25 last year? And the answer would probably tell you why I don't think he's going to be as good a quarterback in the NFL. But the fact is, Deion Sanders is going to come out and he's going to stick up for his son. He obviously thinks his son is going to be a quality quarterback in the league. Every father will say that about his son. And I'm not taking shots at Deion Sanders, even though everybody thinks that. I don't like him. I hate him. I don't appreciate him going out there and throwing and trying to lead his superstar players like his son or even Travis Hunter and say that these guys are going to be the best at their position in the league. The fact is, when I look at Shedeur Sanders, he's got a quality arm, but he holds the ball too long and is as accurate as his completion percentage says he is. Who did he play defensively last year that can tell me or tell you that he can actually hold on to the ball and complete passes in the NFL? These defenses in the NFL are much more faster. They're going to get to the quarterback a lot faster. In college football, it usually takes a defensive lineman between 3.5 seconds to 3.8 seconds to get to the quarterback. In the NFL, if you're a good defense, 2 seconds at best. That means if Shedeur Sanders holds on to the ball as long as he usually does, he's going to get killed. And I look at the quality of his legs. And I know Deion Sanders says he's a good mobile quarterback. He's a quality mobile quarterback. He is not Cam Ward. He is not Jaden Daniels. He's not Lamar Jackson. When you don't have those qualities, even Kyler Murray, if you don't have those qualities, you're not going to be able to hold the ball as long as he has in college football. Now, you look at his game could be compared to quite a few quarterbacks we've seen come out of the draft. And I look at his talent, and one of them really stick out to me is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, when he came out of college, everybody thought he had a quality arm. He could stand in the pocket and make every single throw. But the problem with Sam Darnold in USC is he held on to the ball too long, which put him into a lot of positions where it got him in trouble. Now, I don't know if Shedeur Sanders has the talent that obviously Sam Darnold was when he came out of USC. But everybody, including the scouts that we've had on this show, think that he is the best quarterback in this class. And then I've spoken to people off air and asking him, where do you see Shedeur Sanders? If this was last year's class, do you think Shedeur Sanders is a first-round draft pick? Do you even think Shedeur Sanders is a top 20 pick? And the answer from two of these scouts, two of these personalities that I've met off air and actually has been on our show, is said that more than likely, if he was drafted last year, he was a second-round talent. And I understand when you look at the position, that some of these teams are in, Tennessee being one of them. Even if you look at the Browns could be looking for a quarterback too, because Deshaun Watson is not the quarterback of the future of this organization. It would worry me when you're looking at teams like the Giants, where you got Joe Shane sitting there, and he's in position right now where if he doesn't make the right choice, if he doesn't draft the right quarterback or even make a move in a trade to bring in the right quarterback, his career as the GM of the New York Giants is over. And the Giants are going to be looking for new GM, new coach, and new rebuilding scheme. And this has been the Giants' call for the last couple of years. I know I was talking to Fish before the show, and he says Travis Hunter would be a great fit for the New York Giants because he's a corner and he's a wide receiver. And with the Giants, they could use another wide receiver on this roster. I think that the Giants it's detrimental for the New York Giants to add a quarterback talent to this roster. And I don't think you bring in a Matthew Stafford or Justin Fields, it's going to put them in a position to win now. They need to win now. And the Giants are in a division right now that has the Eagles and a growing Washington Commander team that has Jaden Daniels and a coach that is very, very hungry in Dan Quinn. So the Giants need to make good moves in this year's draft and in free agency. I just don't know if Travis Hunter is the guy. And I definitely don't believe Shedeur Sanders is the guy to come to New York. So it would worry me if I was the New York Giants and I was this organization where they're put in a position where the only quarterback that probably fits or is going to be available at number 3 is Shedeur. And Travis Hunter is definitely going to be there. I think Travis Hunter, if he doesn't go to the Giants, he's probably going 5. That's where I think. I don't think he's going past 5. But it would worry me right now when you're hearing, and we're going to get into it in a few minutes, I've been hearing that the Jets reached out to Tennessee and the Jets are interested in moving up from 7 to 1 to get Cam Ward. And I've heard also that the Giants over the last 3 seasons have been scouting Cam Ward, that he was the guy that the Giants have been looking at for the last couple of years. If he is your guy and you're drafting at number 3, you should do anything to move up to number 1 to get your guy. I don't want to hear that Carter's the guy. He's the most talented player in this year's class from Penn State. I don't want to hear that, Travis Hunter, he's a transitional player. He's a guy that can change your team and your organization. I don't want to hear that. You need a quarterback. Quarterbacks are not easy to find. And I understand. I've also talked to Fish about this off air. He says that Cam Ward, it's going to take at least a year or 2 for Cam Ward to get comfortable as a quarterback, a starting quarterback in this league.
But what do you think they would have to give up to get that, though?
At 3, I think the Giants would have to give up another first. I think they would give up this year's first, another first, and probably a third. That's where I think what the Giants are going to have to give up. If the Jets make the move from 7-1, the Jets are going to have to give up this year's one, next year's one, a 2 this year, a 2 next year, and probably another one. I would say the Jets are going to have to give up 3 1s and 2 2s to get Cam Ward at number 1. Now, if the Jets think that Cam Ward is their guy and you're willing to give up that kind of stock, then you do whatever it takes to get number 1. That's my opinion here. But I don't know what Cam Ward is. All I know is I like the kid. I think he fits and what he has said. To come to New York, he's not a guy that's going to go out and party. He doesn't drink. He said that he's not a drinking type of guy. He's a guy that's a stay-at-home person that likes to play board games and hang out with the family. If that's the guy the Giants have seen over the last 3 years and scouted over the last 3 years, you will do anything you can to move up to number 1, and don't let the Jets try to move up to number 1 to get your guy.
So you look at the case with Shedeur Sanders. I think he's somebody that I don't think has that leeway to be able to just say, I'm not going to throw at the combine. Because last year, the top 3 draft prospects, they were like, not necessarily can't miss. Caleb Williams was thought of that way. The other 2 were still kind of maybe still in that top tier. Those 2 guys were light years ahead of prospects to where Shedeur Sanders was. And I think that case is something that I think he has to take advantage of. You want to focus on the interview process. That's fine. That's my biggest concern with Shedeur Sanders is his leadership aspects because of everything he said, throwing his offensive line under the bus, obviously everything with Deion Sanders and all the stupid stuff they did over the summer. Like, yeah, that's a concern with NFL teams, but they're 2 independent processes. It's not like you're doing Tuesday a drill, then you're all of a sudden going to interview with a team, and then going Wednesday to another drill. So I think that still is a flawed aspect of it in a quarterback class that is unknown. Cam Ward might be the safest quarterback prospect in this class, but he's still behind even some of the ones from last year too. So there's still some concern on that end, and he's still going to show his combine.
Is Cam going to be at the combine?
As far as I know,
is he going to be throwing at the combine?
I believe he is.
So if he's throwing at the combine, so should Shedeur. I don't want to hear that Shedeur feels more comfortable playing and throwing at his pro day. I don't want to hear about May, Caleb Williams, or Daniels. Those guys were much better prospects than he was. And to me, I understand. We've heard Sam Darnold didn't throw at the combine. We all know that story. And he threw at his pro day and looked very, very good. But if Shedeur is going to go out there and show people that he is a quality quarterback and that he can compete with every single quarterback going into this class, including Cam Ward, who Cam Ward came out and said he is a way better quarterback as far as accurate and as far as a mobile quarterback. This guy can do everything. He said he is so much better than Shedeur. Everybody's going to see him at the combine and why everybody thinks that he's the number 1 prospect in this class. If Cam Ward is saying that, Shedeur should have heard that, and he's heard that on plenty of interviews. If Shedeur knows that, he should go out there and outplay Cam Ward at the combine. And if he's not going to do, Cam Ward's going to be playing in his pro day. He's going to be throwing in his pro day. He's not going to make any excuses. I'm going to go at the combine. I'm going to prove myself at the combine. And after I do that, I'm not going to throw in my pro day. He's going to do both. You know why? Because he wants to prove that he's not only a quality quarterback, he's going to prove why everybody is saying he is the best prospect quarterback coming out of this class.
And everyone that ends up skipping their pro day is either somebody that maybe had an injury risk towards the end of the year as an injury-prone player in college, or maybe a different position that's a more injury-prone position that you could say, okay, maybe a wide receiver that doesn't want to run, or a defensive lineman that doesn't want to do any strength drills, stuff like that. I think with a quarterback, it's very hard to be able to duplicate just throwing success at decision-making traits just based on athletic grades at a combine anyway, but you still want to be able to see different types of throws. You still want to see different types of decision, especially in an era of football where you're seeing a lot more complicated offenses, RPO type offenses. And I think somebody like Shedeur Sanders is not, while he can run and do play action pretty well, I think it's still not a perfect thing. He's not like a Lamar Jackson type where he's a dual threat right away. That's very obvious. He's not even Jaden Daniels at LSU level, anywhere close to that. And those types of college quarterbacks transition their games a lot easier in the game. I think Shedeur Sanders doing that, I get he wants to focus on the moral side of it and try to impress NFL teams that way, because that's where I'm most concerned too. But that does not mean he's like this can't miss prospect that just has leadership issues and is flawed beyond that.
He says he's the best leader in this class.
You would think, but
came out, and Deion Sanders was on. He was over there in Louisiana. He spoke to Stephen A. Smith. I saw what he said about his son, that he says but he's by far the best talent in this class. It's not even a question. Now, Deion Sanders is going to say that, but it would bother me if I was Cam Ward or even Quentin Ewers, who came out, and some people thought Quentin Ewers was the number one prospect out of this class before this season and what Cam Ward did and Shedeur Sanders did. Shedeur Sanders, to me, when you look at the quality of talent that he played against this year, even his team and the quality players around him as far as his team, besides Travis Hunter, are any of these guys first or second round talents on that Colorado team? The answer would be no. So what does that tell you? It tells me when you look at the superstardom that he says that he is, and Travis Hunter and Deion Sanders says that Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders are, Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter in Deion Sanders' eyes should go 1 and 2. In my opinion, I think Travis Hunter is a top 10 pick. I think Travis Hunter is number 6 or number 7. I don't think he's a top 5 talent. That's just my opinion. I know everybody's going to attack me on that. I don't think he is, even though he's a dual threat. And Shedeur Sanders is not, and I'll say it again, like I said last year, he is not a first-round talent. If anything, he's a late first-round talent. And the only reason why he's a late first-round talent is because there are teams desperate for a quarterback. That's the only reason why. He is not Lamar Jackson. The reason why Lamar Jackson was drafted in the final pick of the first round by the Baltimore Ravens was because nobody thought he was accurate enough to throw in the NFL. As far as God-given talent, I don't think we've seen a God-given talented player like Lamar Jackson in the last 25 years coming out of the draft. And now you can see why everybody thinks he's arguably the best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and also they're judging quarterbacks now based on the athletic builds first. So that'll give somebody like anyone who has the speed of Lamar Jackson or the size of Josh Allen that kind of advantage. I don't see that kind of thing with Shedeur Sanders either. Now, Shedeur Sanders can throw on the run. He's decent with play action. But again, his decision-making is still kind of inconsistent. Like you said,
indecisive.
Yeah, he's really stat padding against a lot of these bad teams, which has helped him. The first couple months with Colorado, I would say he played against some good competition pretty well. But it still wasn't like the Big 12 in today's college football is not like it's used to be. And Big 12 defenses are never great outside of a couple years. So that's the competition you're going against. And you could say the same thing with Cam Ward and down here for the ACC, but the ACC, most of their strengths, they're good teams or good defensive teams, though. So it's still not something that you could trust to be able to do that. I don't think either quarterback is a top 5 overall prospect, but Shedeur Sanders is not going to just confidently think he could just be a top 5 pick just by not showing up at the combine.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I've always wondered, because we've obviously seen both sides of it, where people going to the combine and, being an okay just player during the year and then go out and they run a crazy 40 and just do some crazy things in the combine. And we've seen that obviously help a lot of drafts. Like DK Metcalf is one that comes to mind. And obviously Josh Allen in Wyoming, obviously not a big school. We know that around here in Nebraska because we have Nebraska ties to the Wyoming football program. But I think in some of the ways that they perceive the combine first pro day, I don't know which one is better than the other. Honestly, I don't know that answer. But if you're able to, and my question is, and I don't know this, and I've thought about this when you see these guys either doing it or not doing it, do you think it's more helps or hinders when they get to do it? Because we've kind of seen it both ways, how, things have changed. Do you think it's, I wouldn't say a necessity, but do you think if they don't do it, it hurts them a little bit?
It absolutely hurts them.
For somebody that's kind of a question mark, yes. It's not like Caleb Williams was like a generational talent thought of as a prospect. And Trevor Lawrence in his draft was thought of that. I think he skipped the combine because for that reason. He did his pro day at Clemson. And if somebody's like that, okay, fine. Abdul Carter skipping his pro day.
Yeah, but everybody says Abdul Carter is probably the best prospect out of this class.
That makes a little more sense. No team that is a defensive player or needing a defensive player is going to pass up on him if they think he's the best talent in this draft, especially a team like the Browns if they trade Myles Garrett, a team like the Raiders, the Patriots, all these guys that are not going to need, well, the Raiders need a quarterback, but the Patriots don't need a quarterback. They're not going to pass on somebody like that that's considered that type of talent. Somebody like Shedeur Sanders has big question marks still in his game and in his leadership tactics that, yes, the interviews might show some, but these interviews are not going to come out for a while, and these interviews are going to be different with every team.
I know a lot of people are probably saying Jaden Daniels had the same, people had the same conversations about Jaden Daniels when he was coming out of class. But guess what? Jaden Daniels played in an SEC, the LSU Tigers. I mean, LSU is one of the best college football programs in the world. Okay. You look at Shedeur Sanders, he's playing for Colorado. Does anybody think they're a game-changing organization, a game-changing program? Yeah, Deion Sanders knows how to use the portal. Deion Sanders knows how to, draw players to come and play for him with NIL deals. We all know that's what these coaches are going to be using now because there's money involved. But for anybody to think right now, today, that Shedeur Sanders not going to the combine is going to help him, I beg to differ. I don't think it's going to help him. I don't care what kind of scouts, how many NFL teams are going to go see him on his pro day, which every single one of them are going to see him. I just think that it tells me right now he can't take the pressure. He can't go to the combine and show people that he can step into the pocket and make every single throw because there's so much pressure on him because he's Deion Sanders' boy.
There's only one reason why he's not doing it. It's because if he's a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick, if he showed up at the combine and actually performed and did the measurables, he wouldn't be anymore. I think that's what they're saying by this is that
that was my question, Fish, is like in this instance, is that kind of one of the background thoughts of it?
Think about it. Why would Abdul Carter test when everyone thinks he's, the next like freaking Mario Williams is going to be like, what I mean? A physical freak. Why would he test? It's not necessary. There's no point. So that's one reason why you wouldn't test. The other reason is if you're kind of a fraud and people think that you should go really high. And if you test, you'd really test just like a bunch of other second round picks if you had a different last name. And I think that's what they're going to see with Sanders. Look, Sanders is probably going to be able to be a successful player in the NFL for at least a short period of time. Will it be right away? Will it be with a team, the first team that takes him? I'm not so sure about that. I think there's a lot of maturing that he has to do. We saw him at Radio Row with the second largest posse of any group person.
Ridiculous.
Entire place.
Ridiculous.
And it was just like, dude, you really haven't done anything yet. But, I appreciate that he's rolling like that. He has confidence in himself. Now he has to prove it. It's time to put up or shut up. He hasn't had to really yet. You can be like in an above average team in the Big 12. But that's it, like that for 1 year, not even 2 years, just for 1 year. So you really haven't proven anything yet. So I really hope that it works out for him. Just as like a fan of sports, you want to see good players be good and get to play. I'm a little dubious of him. If the Giants take him at 3, I'm going to be very sick to my stomach.
Everything that I've heard that the Giants are very intrigued with him.
I'm sure they are.
And to me, he was throwing when he was in New York. He was throwing with what's his name again? He was out on the street throwing with the young neighbors. He was throwing with neighbors on the street. There was video out there that him and neighbors are actually really good friends. That they're interactive with each other on text messages. And the Giants, they're not one of those teams like the Jets. If the Jets brought in Shedeur Sanders, it would be a clown show. It would be an absolute clown show because that's the Jets. The Jets like to bring in these name guys. Deion Sanders, Sanders on the back, that Sanders would be going to the practices. Everybody would want to interview him over Aaron Glenn. That's why I think Aaron Glenn will not, no matter what. If Shedeur Sanders is sitting there at 7, there's no way in hell the Jets are going to draft Shedeur Sanders. And one of the main reasons why is, to me, he's a clown show. You do not want Deion Sanders at the games, in the locker room, opening his mouth with a young coach. And I say young coach because this guy's a rookie coach. He's never had a position like this before. He's been an assistant coach, a defensive coordinator. He's got a lot of pressure on him, being that he's an ex-Jet. He was a Pro Bowl player, and he's been, the face. He's going to be the face of the Jets organization moving forward for the next 6 years. So I don't know if Aaron Glenn or any of the executives of the Jets organization would want a guy like Shedeur. Now, the Giants, on the other hand, because they're an organization supposedly that knows how to control players and keep players on the down low, even though they've had problems over the last couple of years. And John Mara is a guy that has been very outspoken over the last 10 years. Remember, 20 years ago, we weren't talking about the Maras were like respected like the Rooney family. Yeah. Winning organization, knows how to find a way to win, knows how to draft the right guys and bring in the right guys. Now they're an organization that's sitting there wondering who's going to quarterback next year. Is some guy named Joey Chestnut, who is over there in New Jersey, and his parents are selling shirts on the side of MetLife Stadium because they're trying to make some money? Or you're going to go after You're going to go after a guy like Shedeur or go after a Matthew Stafford, where there's stories coming out that Matthew Stafford wants to play in New York. The Giants right now are in a position where they have to make a decision and they got to ride with it. And I think they need to go with Cam Ward. I think the Giants, it's so very important that they make this move and go after Cam Ward, because if the other team across the stadium finds a way to jump from 7-1 and get Cam Ward, and Cam Ward turns into Jaden Daniels, I mean, the Giants are going to be attacked by not only social media, but their fans. And say sayonara to Joe Shane and Mr. Petey Pablo over there, because there's not going to be much of an argument that the Giants are going to be looking for a new GM and a new coach.
Kevin Fitz in the comments section too. If anything, the Giants scouting Cam Ward makes me less confident in the Giants' decisions.
I disagree.
Sucked. Okay, that's fine, Kevin. I mean, I'm not saying that any one player is going to transform the Giants. I don't think the Giants are one player away, even if they get the quarterback right necessarily. But at the same time, we talked about Washington. We talked about the Texans the year before. Like, they were kind of thought of in that same position though too. So anything's possible if you have the right type of coaching staff. I don't know if the Giants do. There's still a lot of questions with that, but it's also a little different too, Kevin, with these regimes from the past one with Dave Gettleman. They drafted Saquon Barkley number 2 very questionably, because you don't draft a running back that early. Then they kind of panic because the Giants fans are like, oh, why did you draft a quarterback last year? They draft Daniel Jones, and all of a sudden they're both gone now. And it's a little different now. I think they're trying to go for more of the sheer value. If the Giants draft Cam Ward number 3, that would be that kind of value. If they draft Shedeur Sanders, that would not be that value, especially not participating at the combine.
And if Shedeur, like, realistically, I mean, it's the draft is a crapshoot. In any sport, you kind of have certain ones that you get. Somebody, like, realistically, if he does fall, how far do you think he would fall?
I would think that if he falls out of the top 7, he's going to fall probably in the 20s.
It's the Raiders that he won't get by the Raiders, most people think, right? Because the Raiders need a quarterback in the worst way, and it would make a lot of sense.
Where
Vegas
the Raiders
being
draft
6.
6.
So I think 6 is
guys.
Yeah, well,
I think the Raiders don't draft him. I really don't.
If he falls past 6, then it could be like an Aaron Rodgers type of fall. It could take him till later in the round, because teams are he's not gonna fall in the second. We've talked about it in the past. We talked about, I believe, with Amber Theo Harris on Radio Row as well, that no one goes in the second anymore as a quarterback. It's the third or the first. Or they trade into the back of the first, because you get 2 more years of controllability if you do that, as opposed to being a second-round pick. So if it's a second-round pick, there's still really good players in the draft. You may as well take that player in the quarterback in the third. So that's why we've been seeing that.
I think she loves Shedeur Sanders. I think she actually likes him. I
don't know if she liked him. I mean, I think she was trying to put on that that politically correct face, because she has to talk to the Raiders people all the time, and there's a good chance that maybe they don't even sit. Maybe the Giants trade back. It's possible that the Giants don't fall in love with either one. If Ward is gone at 1, then they trade back if they're not in love with Sanders.
I think it's a catastrophical mistake if the Giants don't move up from 3 to 1.
I kind of tend to agree with you. I don't think it'll cost another first. Actually, looking at the draft calculator, it only takes 800 points to go from 3 to 1. So if they were another top 10 pick next year, which, I mean, let's face it, probably going to be the case, that pick will be way too valuable to do that. So it'll probably be something like a couple of seconds, even though they gave up a couple of seconds for Burns. So they're going to have to get creative. I don't know if creative is Joe Shane's forte. I will say this, though.
I don't know what anything is.
I will say this. Last year, Neighbors, first-round pick, we got a hit. Newbin, one of the best rookie safeties in the league. That's a hit. Drew Phillips was a little hurt, but played really well when he was out there. That's a hit. You had Tyrone Tracy, 5th-round pick. That was a hit as well.
Oh, you have to see what these guys are going to do with their second.
But I'm telling you, that's a really good job for the first time.
Trevor Lawrence looked good his first year, and then ever since then, haven't been hits.
Let's just say we only seen positive feedback from those guys. You're right that there's a lot of truth to the sophomore slump, but I'll tell you what. It's the first time that he's actually had guys play well in the first year they're there. So let's run with it. That's all we got right now,
and
boys.
Joe Douglas has had a lot of guys actually play well in his second and third year, and he doesn't have a job anymore.
Well, he should have been following the Madden rankings. He would have done so much better.
Oh, my God. Speaking of teams, the NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reports that the Rams have granted Matthew Stafford permission to talk to other teams. Fox Sports' Jordan Schultz reports the Rams starting Starting pricing will be first round pick, but still would like to get multiple draft picks in the deal. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports that the Rams are interested in keeping Stafford, but would like to rework his contract. Stafford has 2 more years left on his contract with a cap hit of $50 million and $53 million. Sports Illustrated Albert Breer reports that the Giants, Browns, and Raiders and Steelers are all interested in trading for Stafford. ESPN's Jordan Raanan reports that the Giants reached out to the Rams about a potential potentially for Stafford at the trade deadline last season and a few weeks before cutting Daniel Jones. Stafford had 3,762 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a 65.8% completion percentage last season. I don't know why, Speedy, you put the 68% completion percentage. Nobody cares about his completion percentage. What people want to know is if he goes to the Giants, is he the missing piece that's going to get him over the hump and get him into the playoffs? In a division where you have the Cowboys, you'd hope they're not going to be as bad as they were this year with a healthy Dak Prescott, even though they have a new coach. And you have Jaden Daniels with Dan Quinn, what they did this year. I expect them to be even better, even though we've seen quarterbacks with their sophomore slump, as we've seen Stroud this year. He wasn't as dominant as he was in his freshman year. He had one of the greatest freshman years we've seen a quarterback have. But I think C.J. Stroud was pretty damn good for a guy that, wasn't as good as he was in his first season. And then you have obviously the teams like the Eagles, who are Super Bowl champions. They're going to be just as good as they were last year. They're going to lose a couple of pieces defensively, but they're still going to be a good offense and a good defense, and they're going to be able to get at the quarterback. So I expect the Eagles to be good. That's just their division. You have also a North division that has the Lions, the Green Bay Packers, a Chicago Bears team. I mean, there are a tremendous amount of good teams in the NFC going into this year. So, this story is pretty interesting. Matthew Stafford obviously does not want to be playing for the LA Rams, maybe because they decided to part ways with Cooper Kupp. And then obviously Puka Nacua is a good player, and I think Puka Nacua is a sensational personality. I just think that this team is still trying to figure out where they're going as far as the defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. They're going young on the defensive side of the ball, and now they're going young on the offensive side of the ball. And Matthew Stafford doesn't want to be in the rebuilding stages. He wants to try to win a second Super Bowl after winning his first Super Bowl with the Rams a couple of years ago. So I could understand obviously what Matthew Stafford wants. I also think that the Rams and Sean McVay want to go in his route, and he wants to rebuild and wants to start over with a young quarterback, bring in a young quarterback. I could see Quinn Ewers. He would be a perfect fit right now with the Rams. He doesn't have to start this coming season. He can sit back, learn an offense with Sean McVay, or Sean McVay could say, you know what? Let's feed him to the dogs. We'll work him out. We'll get him going. It might take a year or two to get him going offensively, and they can work him out. I think Quinn Ewers would be a great solution for the Rams in the second round, or maybe if Quinn Ewers falls into the third, in the third round. So I think the Rams are looking to rebuild. And again, I think the Giants are the team that Matthew Stafford wants to go to. I mean, the stories coming out is I don't think he's interested in the Browns. I don't think he's interested in the Rams. The only two teams that he's in, in the Raiders, I don't think he's interested in any of those two teams. I think the only two teams that he would be interested in playing for are the Steelers and the Giants. The problem with the Steelers is they don't know who their wide receiving core is going to be next year, because George Pickens could be traded sometime before the draft or during the draft because of everything that happened last year. So who's their number one wide receiver? Matthew Stafford knows that Neighbors is there, and the Giants could still go after a free agent that are going to be, there's 4 or 5 quality free agents that are going to be available this year. Cooper is going to be available. He could be a number 2 guy coming from the Buffalo Bills, a guy that has been a successful wide receiver in a year in the league, and also going as a number 2 over there with a guy like Neighbors. So I think that the Giants have a team that if you put Matthew Stafford there and you build around Matthew Stafford with some of the young players that they have, in a defense that was very, very good in the second half. They have Dexter Lawrence there. They have guys that have showed up in certain aspects of their game in the second half of the season, I think the Giants could win 9 games next year with a Matthew Stafford, or 10 games and sneak into the playoffs and make noise. We've seen Matthew Stafford do that with the Rams. We've seen him do it over the last couple of years with the Rams. So I just think right now, I don't think he wants to be there with the Rams. I think it's pretty obvious that the Rams are trying to rebuild. And Sean McVay said, listen, go seek out a trade, go seek out the teams that you're interested in playing for. If you can decide, or those teams are agreeing to make a move for you, we can negotiate a deal and we'll send you to the team that you want to go to. And I think that's what Sean McVay wants to do and the organization wants to do. They want to send a guy like Matthew Stafford, who's won a Super Bowl for them, has been the face of the organization for the last couple of years, has stood for a lot as a Ram. Remember, Matthew Stafford is a guy that he's been wanting to go to the Rams. His best friend's over there playing for the Dodgers. So this is something that he wanted, and he got a chance to win a Super Bowl over there where he's always wanted to win a Super Bowl. So I think that, to me, give him the opportunity to go and seek out a trade. And if it is the Giants are going to have to give up at least a second-round draft pick, and got to hope that this is the guy that's going to show Shane in this executive, team that they've put around over the last 3 seasons that have made mistakes, as we saw in Hard Knocks, and went out there, as Joe Shane did, asked his son who he should draft and his family who he should draft. And looked like a mockery after a guy like Barkley went into the Super Bowl and had a record-breaking season, and then went throughout the playoffs, put up the numbers that he put up in the playoffs with the Eagles, and then won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, and made Joe Shane and the New York Giants organization look like a bunch of pansies.
I think the Rams are trying to take advantage of the skepticism that maybe these teams on the top of the draft have when it comes to these quarterbacks in this class. Now, the Giants seem very interested in Cam Ward, fine. Or maybe the Raiders are interested in Shedeur Sanders, fine. But I think there's still that level of doubt that they're trying to leverage these picks. Now, obviously, the pick is very early for the Giants. The pick is very early for the Raiders. Would they consider that kind of trade? I don't think so. So maybe you're going to look for, like you were saying, a 2 and a 4. Maybe they're going to look at first rounders in the future, which we've seen the Rams obviously not have first round picks for about a decade. So they're used to drafting in the second and the third days and be able to build good teams that way, especially the day 3 picks. The Rams, even though their first round picks got all the hype on defense, they built a lot of good players up in those day 3 picks over the years and building up the defense of the way they did, and their offensive line too. So Les Snead, they trust that kind of process to make it work. And I think that's why they're trying to.
But Speedy, who would you go after? Would you go after a Cam Ward? Would you try to move up for a young quarterback that you can help build? Or do you go and trade away a second and a fourth for a Matthew Stafford who's only going to be there 2 years, where you're going to have to pay $50 to $53 million a year for the next 2 years? And if you can't get over the hump, you put your team in debt and cap hell for the next 2 seasons.
Right, which I don't think the Giants or the Raiders, unless they have some kind of splashes in free agency, which they both have a lot of salary cap, but you have to try to convince those guys to be able to go there. Maybe the Raiders have some kind of leverage because they're in Vegas, and maybe that's a place that players want to play. But again, how much do we know is going to work that way? They spent a lot in free agency last year. The Giants, they're not normally known for this, except for that 2016 offseason, these super aggressive spending off seasons. And when they've tried to do that, they've paid guys like Kenny Golladay and Nate Solder recently. So
that was
you really want to go down that road.
That was Gettleman. It wasn't Joe Shane. He didn't. I thought Joe Shane, even though I'm not a big Joe Shane fan, he made some quality moves in the offseason. I think he made the offensive line better, but not as good as everybody thought it was going to be with the additions that they made. And I still think they have Dexter Lawrence. And when you have a player like that, he's a transitional player. He is that kind of guy. He's a superstar player. He changes your defense automatically. You look at Aaron Donald, and you saw what he did for all those years with St. Louis Rams and what he did for the LA Rams and helped them win a Super Bowl. That's what Dexter Lawrence is. He is a complete game changer for the organization. To have a player like that, these are important parts of his career years. If they're going to win a Super Bowl, how old is Dexter Lawrence? He's 26. This is the time that you have a chance to win a Super Bowl with a dominant player like Dexter Lawrence. You're going to do whatever it takes to get the right guy in there for the next 2 to 3 seasons to build and win a Super Bowl.
Going back to the Rams side of it, though, it's very interesting that they would consider this. And maybe you're right. Maybe the Cooper Kupp trade rumors have something to do with this, because I think the Rams financially, their team is very young for the most part. They don't have a lot of big contracts. They shedded a lot of the guys from the Super Bowl team. They shedded a lot of the contracts that they had before that, even with the veteran players. And The defense is very young all at once. The offensive line is very young all at once. So there has to be something that would have triggered this kind of thing.
Cooper Kupp.
And I think that's the only way, that's the only reason it would happen right now, because Cooper Kupp was that valuable. Matthew Stafford's first year, Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown as a wide receiver and was very close to setting the all-time yardage record, and had with the Super Bowl run too, had the all-time yardage record for a wide receiver, won a Super Bowl MVP. So yeah, there must have been some kind of damage done to that. If they can work something out with maybe keeping him happy in a different way, they could try to get that leverage. But at this point right now, I think the Rams are just trying to leverage a first-round pick out of a team, and I think it's going to be a much longer saga that goes on than maybe even goes on this draft.
Yeah, no, I agree. And kind of, what Errol, what you said is starting young again and basically rebuilding. Obviously, McVay in himself being a young man, but kind of seeing the writing on the wall and what's going to happen. I think Fish was 100% right earlier, saying I think Stafford does have a couple really good years left in it. And it's just finding when you get to the point of where he's at, it's like, all right, if I'm going to do this at my age, like I want to have some dudes. I don't want to be in limbo of who I'm going to have or who I'm not going to have. So I think there are some really good fits, but there's also some too where you don't know if they're going to get rid of their receivers or what they're going to do.
Nobody really has that kind of a receiving core.
Right. So it's just it's kind of like you said. I don't know how long this is going to get drug out, but I think it gets done later rather than sooner, so he can kind of see what happens, especially with the draft and kind of guys moving and shaking as far as if they're going to take another deal, if they're going to stay with the team. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, honestly, in kind of what it is. Yeah, he's embraced himself into obviously their culture and everything that they stand for, going to California as being a Texas kid. And so, that it was kind of a little surprising, I guess. I was just kind of, taken to what they are there, but it didn't really surprise me. And it'll happen. I just don't know how fast it will happen if he's going to wait for other things to shape up.
If it's the Giants, it's going to happen before the draft. It's going to have to happen before the draft, because what the Giants are going to do is they're going to make that statement, Cam Ward is not their guy, and they're going to go after another player. They're going to trade down, especially if they're going to lose picks, if they're going to go after Matthew Stafford. So if it is the Giants, I expect it to happen before the draft. Probably in the next month, maybe 2 months, it's going to happen. If it's any other team like the Raiders or the Steelers are not a team that's just going to jump in. They're not an organization that just jumps in and makes the move.
Too,
yeah, they're not going to do that. They're going to wait a little while. I expect and you'll see Pittsburgh. This is how Pittsburgh is going to go after Matthew Stafford. In the draft, they're going to look at other positions. They're not even going to be looking at a quarterback position, which tells me Justin Fields is gone, because there are stories coming out that the Jets are interested in him and Tennessee is actually interested in him, which tells me if Tennessee goes after Justin Fields, they're not drafting a quarterback at number 1. So, and that tells me that they're looking for a team to trade up with them at number 1, which could be the Giants, the Raiders, or one of these teams, maybe even the Jets, which I've heard that the Jets are willing to maybe move up at number 1 to get Cam Ward. So I think it's very interesting in both facets where Shedeur Sanders is, Cam Ward. This quarterback situation is going to be so much of the story before the draft. I don't even care about the combine, because we know there's going to be somebody or 2 or 3 guys that are going to surprise everybody, and they're going to put up ridiculous numbers when it comes to speed and ability and jumping ability. So we're going to see something that we're going to be like, wow, this guy went from a second round or a late first round to all the way a top 10 pick, and somebody's going to fall out. I just think Shedeur not going to the combine, and now you hear Matthew Stafford is out there looking for a team that he wants to play for, tells me that this is going to be such an interesting couple of months before the draft.
Carl in the comment section, Stafford to the Colts, which is interesting to think, because we were talking about it at the trade deadline with Bryce Young being in trade rumors and also Anthony Richardson kind of in last-second trade rumors. Now, I don't know if the Rams would take on Anthony Richardson. He doesn't feel like that kind of scheme fit, because they were interested in trade for Bryce Young. So I think there is evidence that the Rams want to get younger at the quarterback position, whether they keep the pick in this draft, whether they trade Stafford or not and draft a quarterback, or they draft one later. Maybe they take Dart in the second, or they take Jalen Milroe or something in the third, something that's a higher upside pick. I think it's definitely interesting that the Colts could explore that. It fits their pattern. Ryan Grigson, Chris Ballard loves these veteran quarterbacks all the time, but I don't know if the Rams would be interested in Richardson as much. Jamie Lee, to answer your question, do I want Stafford on the Giants? I don't hate it. I'm worried about what the price is. The Giants are not one player away at any
2 and a 4. I would not.
I wouldn't. Yeah, because like Fish was saying too, the Brian Burns, they traded a second round pick for Brian Burns already anyway.
You know what it's going to be? It's going to be this type of package we see for quarterbacks that are older, that it's going to be a conditional second round pick next year. And like probably the compensatory pick. Compensatory picks come out in the second week of March, guys. So it'll be for this year's draft. So the Giants lost Saquon, Xavier McKinney, who were both first team All Pro. They should get third round picks for at least one of them, if not a third and a fourth. So that should be what they will be dealing. So the Giants will have some assets to deal in a deal for Stafford. The question is, will Pittsburgh give up more? I think that those are the two most likely teams. And of course, somebody can come out of left field and do that. Pick some good drops. Those are crappy drops.
What? I don't know. You just said, is Pittsburgh going to do that? And Speedy said, I don't know.
I don't think the Steelers are. It makes sense, I guess, based on the sense of urgency, like you're saying, Fish. But it doesn't fit their pattern. They don't like to trade a lot of first-round picks outside of the Minka Fitzpatrick trade. They don't like to really trade first-round picks.
This is how you shave.
It's
well,
for defensive players.
You're right, though. But maybe, like one of your drops says, it is evolution, Speedy.
Yes,
it is evolution.
But the Steelers are ones that have their ways. They're not going to like go for these extreme deviations all the time. If they did, they would have probably gotten one of these other big name quarterbacks that have been available.
Goodbye. I do believe that the Giants are going to have to make a decision in the next couple of weeks. If they want Matthew Stafford, they're going to have to come up with a trade that makes a lot of sense. And again, Matthew Stafford still has a quality in leadership that the Giants have been lacking over the last couple, been lacking for the last 10 years since Eli Manning. So to bring in a Matthew Stafford, first of all, he's got the arm strength to throw in MetLife. There's no question that he does. He would fit like a glove over there in MetLife as far as what we've seen of the Giants and some of the quarterbacks they've had over the last couple of years. And also he brings winning to that organization. A guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer, which the Giants have Eli Manning, that's probably next year going to make the Hall of Fame, and an organization that understands what it takes to bring in a guy that with that kind of magnitude, that kind of personality, which is calm and collective. You know, Matthew Stafford does not like to stand in front of the press. He does not like to really speak and throw out things that's going to throw his team under the bus. He's a quiet kind of person. He has a quiet personality. So what do the Giants like? They like those guys that are quiet, goes out there, puts up the numbers, and doesn't throw his teammates under the bus. Over the last couple of seasons, let's go look at the quarterback play of the New York Giants and what some of these quarterbacks have done. I mean, seriously, it's been an embarrassment. So to bring in a Matthew Stafford, it kind of takes Joe Shane off the hook. If he wants to go after Travis Hunter, it doesn't look as bad because you have a competent quarterback that's going to step in and is going to make plays. So, and he has a guy like Neighbors that's going to go out there and get the ball. So that's the thing that, kind of makes me think that Joe Shane's looking at a Matthew Stafford as maybe it's a Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid that could actually work. So
which one would you rather do? We had these two stories to start today. Trade up for Cam Ward or a couple of day 2 picks.
Telling you about that kid.
Stafford.
He's a Jaden Daniels type of player. I'm telling you right now. Cam Ward came out and said exactly what Jaden Daniels said. If anybody passes up on me, they're going to regret it. He said that. Jaden Daniels said it. So if you're hearing that from Cam Ward, what does that tell you as a GM or even an executive that owns the team? It tells me I'm going to do everything I can to get that MO. And I'm not going to say what I mean by MO or MF. So that's what I'm going to do. So, and if I were the New York Giants, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get Cam Ward. You've been scouting the guy. You love the guy, as we've heard Joe Shane and his scouts have said through many different avenues and facets over the last couple of weeks, which tells me you would do whatever it takes to go to Tennessee. There are stories coming out that they like Justin Fields, that they would rather bring in Justin Fields straight out of that pick and wait until next year where there's an Arch Manning or somebody else that they really, really like in the top 3, because that's where Tennessee is. As good as their defense is, they're still a rebuilding offense, and they have a young coach there that's still trying to figure things out after, the season that was pretty successful for them in a division that's so wide open. The Tennessee Titans are in one of the most easy, divisions where you can go from 0 to top of the division as quick as can be. So I think they need to make the right choice. And I don't know if Tennessee believes that Cam Ward, or they're going to want to wait for Cam Ward for the next 2 years to develop. The Giants are probably willing to do that because they have a young superstar neighbors. You have these guys. These guys are going to be your combination 2 for the next 15, 20 years. So I think that's where the Giants go. I think the Giants better do that, because I'm hearing that the Jets are going to do whatever they can. If Cam Ward has a good pro day and has a good combine, you're going to hear noise from the New York Jets that you're going to hear them move up or try to move up to get him, because Aaron Glenn is that type of guy that is looking for a guy that can change this organization, and the guy that the Jets have been trying to go after, from Zach Wilson to Mark Sanchez to Sam Darnold. We could go on and on and on and on. The Jets have never found the guy, and if they think Cam Ward's the guy, they will do anything to get that guy.
Yeah, and also they have a Titans of a GM that comes from the Chiefs too. The Chiefs have traded back and gotten value over the years too. So that definitely wouldn't surprise me. And Tennessee, I know, Fish, you were mentioning it a couple of weeks ago. They're going to go for this quote unquote best player available. Or if that's really the case, I don't think any of those players are quarterbacks.
I'm sorry. I was looking at a list from the Athletic, Dane Brugler's Athletic, big board. He doesn't have a quarterback in the top 15 on his big board overall. Cam Ward being first. No, not on who's going to get drafted. Just as the talent, rating all the guys. There are a lot of really good linemen, a lot of really good edge rushers this year. It's a deep draft.
Mason Graham too.
Mason Graham is a guy that people are really excited about. So there's some guys that are up there in that top echelon of players, and there's a lot of depth in this draft.
Or horseradish.
If it wasn't for the horseradish, then you possibly would see something like that. But the league's always going to take the quarterbacks at the top of the draft. It's always like that. So someone's going to make a huge mistake. They make them all the time, and it's going to be a disaster. And it'll probably be one of our 2 favorite teams.
Yeah.
Speaking of teams that have changed, the New York Yankees announced Friday that they will be removing their facial hair policy, allowing players to have well-groomed beards. This policy was put in place with George Steinbrenner in 1976, only allowing mustaches for almost 50 years. Steinbrenner told reporters he's been thinking about changing it for the last few seasons, few years, and said he doesn't want to lose out on players because of the facial hair policy. Former outfielder and current MLB Network analyst Cameron Nabin took shots at the Yankees for the policy in 2023, saying it prevented them from getting top free agents like Bryce Harper. David Price and Andrew McCutcheons also mentioned the facial hair policy as a reason they didn't sign a long-term deal with the Yankees. ESPN's Jeff Passan reports that Devin Williams had he was a huge advocate of having the Yankees change this rule immediately after being traded there. Several current and former Yankees, such as CeCe Sabathia, Andy Pettitte, Garrett Cole, and Aaron Judge, called the policy very inconsistent and mentioned the Yankees gave certain players special treatment. It's an interesting story. It really is. And I think this is a good move by the Steinbrenner family. I understand this isn't George, and we all know it's not George. And a lot of people have thrown Hal under the bus because he hasn't gone out there and spended like George. If the Yankees wanted a big-time player, George Steinbrenner would do whatever it takes to get those guys, or 2 or 3. Now, Hal Steinbrenner's kind of kept it, it still has a very – the Yankees have a high salary. There's no question, a top 3, top 4 team, but they're not number 1. When George Steinbrenner was running the organization, they were number 1. So obviously Hal has a different way of running his business. To come out, and I do believe Devin Williams had a big part in this transcending move by the New York Yankees. But I think
not as big as you think.
Probably not, but I also think that I've also heard that Devin Williams actually sat down with Hal and sat down with Brian and said, listen, this is what I want. And if you want me to come back next year, or you think that I'm going to sign an extension, you got to let me be me. And I think that's the problem with the New York Yankees for the years. A lot of teams over the years, you see like Boston, we've heard, Joba, you said it yourself. When you left the Yankees, you've grown your beard. You never shaved. You've kept the beard for a very, very long time because the Yankees told you have to keep clean shave. You got to keep a baby face. This has been the Yankees organization, and this is what George Steinbrenner has really pushed over the last 50 years. But I think the Yankees are an organization that's tried to change. I think they're an organization that wants to, rebuild in a way where they can draw players that maybe wouldn't have come here because of these policies. And I also believe the Yankees are an organization that are trying to make a statement that they're not going to be the same team they were 50 years ago. They also want to be a team that wants to rebuild through their farm system, which Brian Cashman has come out and said over the last 10 seasons, which they have in some ways. I mean, obviously we don't know what the Martian's going to be. We don't know what Volpe is fully going to be over the next, because Volpe this year wasn't as good as he was last year. So I'm interested to see what some of these other guys, Jones too, Spencer Jones, we're going to see if he gets called up this year. Remember, he played in AA last year. He's moving to AAA. We'll see how he is.
Hit a home run already.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see. Yeah, well, he hit home runs in spring training last year, and the Yankees never called him up. So he was the best hitter for the Yankees in spring training last year, and the Yankees never called him up. He never got out of AA. So I'm interested to see how this changes the Yankees. And that's my question. How is the Yankees going? This changing for the Yankees and bringing in and changing the policies, is this going to draw free agents in the coming years? And also, I also heard that Hal came out and said recently that this wasn't the off season that the Yankees wanted to spend money. They wanted to wait until next year where there are going to be better and more interesting free agents that they're going to be intrigued with, which tells me Vladimir Guerrero is a guy that the Yankees are gunning for. So it's interesting that Hal Steinbrenner came out and said that, when Hal's always kept it to the cuff. He never, ever opens up and tells you his plans. But by him saying that, he wanted to set the Mets straight and the Braves straight and the Blue Jays straight and all the other teams that are interested in going after Vladdy going into the offseason, is that the Yankees are going to make a statement and they're going to do everything they can to land their future first baseman.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were talking about the Cameron Maybin story a couple of years ago and how crazy we thought it was at the time. Oh, they ruined the whole trade deadline with this whole policy, I think it was, or they ruined the whole offseason with that whole policy. And I think it was shortly before they actually traded for Soto at the time in 2023. And it's interesting with the way the Yankees have this history of these guys that they could have gotten and didn't get. But again, at the same time, was anyone paying David Price that kind of contract that the Red Sox ended up giving him? I don't really think so. I think there were other reasons that these other pitchers didn't want to go to the Yankees in the past. It really didn't have anything to do with the beards. But at the same time, we're talking about these organizations that are stuck in their ways. How much is going to hold them back in the future in an era of sports where it's all younger player and media driven? So at the same time, it's an outdated concept that maybe should have been gone on for a while.
A baby turtle.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of baby turtles that come up in baseball. It's just the game getting younger.
Duh.
And the Yankees are now embracing that kind of thing. I think Devin Williams, he might have had, I don't know if he had the entirety of it, like you were saying, Joba. I think there were other influences, especially with these past players too, like CC Sabathia, who in his time was a fiery guy.
I never heard of a skin flute.
Who played in a lot of these.
You guys haven't even mentioned me once. Are you shitting me? What are we talking about here?
Joba, I was actually going to bring it up.
I brought you up. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you just said it, but you didn't say give me any credit.
I gave you credit. What are you talking about?
Hey, Yankees could have got Brian Wilson if they didn't have the facial hair policy, but I think they should have kept the facial hair policy.
Brian Wilson, who had his 3-year peak as a closer and then went to the Dodgers with his fake beard and fell off a cliff. That's
it. Also, too,
he had a chance.
The fact that Hal said that, if we were losing people because of this rule, he knows damn well they lost people because of this rule. If he was that remissed and didn't pay, yes, I've had conversations with free agents that are I'm not coming here because of that. I don't want to be told I have to do something. And, I've been thrown out of the dugout. I understand what they're doing and I see both sides of it. I really do. I understand what people are coming from. I understand, a lot of the just the old heads, and I'm a traditionalist in baseball too. I all these things that are changing, some good, some for the bad, whatever. We're all going to have our own opinion, but you just see all these ones. I hate it because the tradition of what they are, this that, and everything. Everybody forgets Thurman. Everybody forgets Thurman Munson grew a beard in '75, and George didn't say anything. Like there are certain instances where this has happened. I mean,
I sat in
obviously,
the back of a car with Wade Boggs, and Wade Boggs told me a story when he was riding the horse that he had some scruff going on, and it was just
and we
on
pushed
purpose.
it all the time. Like me and C, we'd always be like, "How far can we get it?" We'd have a flavor saver, and they'd be like, "You got to get rid of it." So it's not like this is just Devin Williams came out and said no. He didn't.
It's been going on for years, but honestly, I think the facial hair policy is New York, dude. Like if you go to anywhere else in corporate America and they say you have to be shaven to get the job, you're gonna shave to get the job. You're not gonna say, "Oh, I'll turn down a 7-figure, 6-figure salary because I can't grow a beard."
But this is
pilots have to be
sport.
shaven.
This is the only sport that happens.
Well, it's only team too is New York Yankees, and they just have had that tradition
when Donnie Baseball was the manager at the Marlins, they weren't.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, well, he brought that from
and then in LA too.
Donnie Baseball just hired by the Yankees as a defensive coach for the season, by the way.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. Job of that policy started the year after Munson in 75 and 76.
Yeah, that was
George.
part of the reason.
Part of the reason because he went wild with it.
Yep.
I was told many times when I was first getting out of college, going on my first job interviews, you got to be clean shaven. You have to be on point, because the older generation and how it used to be, that's what everybody wanted. And the Yankees kind of upheld such a tradition because George Steinbrenner was a big business guy back in the 70s, back in the 60s. And that's just how it was. If you go back, if you ever watched the show Mad Men, before in the first half, it's 1960s, Madison Avenue, everyone's clean cut. And and that's the style. But if you go back in time more to the turn of the century, everyone had those big curly Q mustaches and a special type of fancy facial hair. And if you went back to the 1700s, they had the powdered wigs and they had all that nonsense, right? And everything, there was a different type of appropriateness for the times.
It's all cyclical.
It is. And look, maybe it'll come back again in another 50 years or something. But obviously, it was an outdated policy and people just didn't want it anymore. I think Judge's comments saying that he kind of is if you didn't like it, you're not tough enough for New York. That's an interesting way to look at it. I
love Judgy, but he do not grow good facial hair.
I was going to say that.
And some can't. And I get that, but
look at this thing, dude. I would have been nice.
90%. I went back and looked when they did this, and all the guys that spent over 5 years with New York or whatever, or came to New York, over 90% had some type of facial hair. There was very few that were clean shaven. Now you see Derek on Fox with a facial hair. You see, it's more times than not. But they're not only just changing facial policy. Now they're not playing certain things. They're allowing certain things to go on.
That's life.
I think they're finally figuring it out where everybody else is making, and these are very minuscule things. And I get what you're saying, Goody. But at the same time, when I'm making you billions of dollars, and you tell me I have to shave or you're going to kick me out. No, I mean, it's just that's me personally. I'll still pay it. I'll still do whatever. I mean, I did it for almost 8 years. So I understand. But then it's when you go in the off season, what do 90% of them do? Grow beards.
Yeah, look at Carl. Look at Carl down there. He's my boy Carl.
I got Carl right here on my other screen. I see you, Carl.
If you look at the bottom right of the screen, you could see the biggest beard I could find on the internet of Joba from his playing
Derek
days.
Jeter, by the way, you mentioned Derek Jeter. The only reason why he's growing a beard because he wants to hide the wrinkles. Okay, that's the only reason why.
He's still beautiful.
Right,
he's still beautiful.
Well, the fact is the Yankees are obviously trying to.
I'd give him my cell phone to get into the house.
I think it's a good move by the Yankees. I think it's going to draw more players to come and play there, if need be. Obviously, Bryce Harper was one of those guys that was interested in playing for the Yankees, but I don't think it had anything to do with the beard. Just to let everybody know, the Yankees really didn't make a play for him. And he was upset about that. If you know the story, his father grew up a Mickey Mantle fan.
I will say you're wrong, by the way. I know that for a fact.
Okay. Well, what I saw when the Yankees were going after him, I heard that the Yankees didn't even make a play for him. So maybe you know more than I do. You probably do. But nevertheless, I'm just telling you what I read and what people were telling us when they came on our show and told us that the Yankees weren't interested in making a play for him. But again, you say differently. So,
Well,
well,
yeah, and it's just it, but it's when they say these certain things, it's like because it's initial conversation, some people won't even embrace the conversation. So why would you even have dialogue if that's one of the things that you've earned that right? You have earned that right to get 150, 200, 300 million. You have the right to say you're going to tell me what I have to do. No, you're not going to. You've earned that right. That's why they want you. So if your first conversation is, nope, I'm not going to do it because I have to shave, then you're not even going to create dialogue to even have a conversation unless it's like, hey, you're getting 250, they're going to offer you 575. Well, I'll probably make a little adjustment there. But if you're just not going to have that conversation, and I've had it with more than a handful of people that is definitely a topic of conversation. And now it doesn't have to be, which is great. And I understand. And I had a great time with everybody on Twitter, X, whatever the heck you want to call it, about like, what is their
Xavier. That's what we're going to call
yeah.
it.
What is their what is there going to be their definition of beard? Or can they have a Fu Manchu? Or does it just have to be nicely groomed? Like, I don't mind whatever. I just went crazy with mine because I was like, I was told not only in college, but professionally that I had to shave. And so I was like, I'm not listening to a damn soul. I'm just letting this thing go. Never knew there was that many beard products in this world once that started happening. Crazy. It'd show up and there'd be boxes of like these beard oils and gels and whatever.
I never understood that. Why do people put those beard oils?
Because your facial hair is
opposite.
different than your actual hair. The follicles are different in your beard than they are on your actual.
Oh, you need to grow. You need to grow it out.
No,
man.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
I think you need to.
Listen, I could grow my beard just as fast as you can. I mean, this thing grows like
Yeah,
Carter's is bad. He's like
it
missed the native in me. Like I am half native. My dad has patchy McGee's. My son is the same way. Like you guys were talking and I was looking down. Sorry, I got distracted. My son, they just hit a walk-off. They're 7-0 and
that's my golf top.
Yeah, Homer. Yeah. But then he texts me, of course, he goes, Dad, I need new glasses. I broke mine in the walk-off celebration. So I was like trying to figure it out. So.
Or at least you didn't get hurt like Kendry Morales did on the
yeah. Blew out his ACL.
Ruined his whole career.
Shin-Ming Wong, too.
No, that was a Liz Frank running the bases.
Didn't he step on home plate though and break
he
it?
was rounding third in Houston.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought he stepped on home.
You know that happened to Derek on his walk-off, right?
Yeah.
He sprained his Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
His cleat hit the plate right on the plate and it slid out. He never told anybody.
Look what happened to Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
In the World
Look what happened to Joaquin Benoit 2016
Yeah.
bench clear and brawl. I'm running down on the right field. I look over and I see this big ass dude just rolling head over heels the whole time. Then we get to the middle of the field and he put his arm around me and I'm like, "Are you good?" He's like, "Bro, my leg." Next day he's on a 4-6 with a blown calf.
There were times we ran out and
Sure.
you weren't expecting it, and I always came out to the bullpen late, so it's not like I was warm. Bro, there were times where I literally thought my hamstrings were gonna This was the year K-Rod. It was Torrey Hunter and Pudge got into it. So 2008?
K-Rod.
Yeah, because that was the year he was getting he was at 60 some saves. And he was going to break the record.
Yeah, before the Mex ruined him.
Yeah, and so we had to we come down the same stairs, and so you're next to each other, and we're running, and we're we're not even going to get there in time anyways. And he goes, "I'm pretty sure I just blew out both my hamstrings." He didn't throw a pitch over 86 that night. He goes, "I couldn't feel my legs." I was like, "What are we?"
Let me tell you something, dude. Bench clearing brawls are the most pointless thing in baseball.
Unless you're in the dugout.
Even then, it's so pointless, dude. Nothing ever happens. The bullpen guys, we just waste our energy, waste our time running out there. Yeah, you could be there for just to be there, be a good teammate.
It's why Nomar was traded, wasn't it? That he went and sat with Jeter in that bench clearing brawl, and they're like, "Nah, that's never happening. Get out of here." And then
I want to see it. I want to see it be like hockey. That's what it needs to be. You want to generate fans. You want fans to come to the game.
You don't remember?
Throw the gloves down. Let's go. I agree.
You don't remember the Dodgers and Fernandez? Remember that? When that whole thing, he threw his chair or he threw a chair at somebody or something of that.
There was a couple good. The Orioles, Yankees with Graham Lloyd and all that. That was a good one. You know what other one was good? And
Pedro. throwing
Pedro
Zimmer.
throwing, yes, but the Reds and who was it with like Scott Rowland and Cueto and all those guys? That was a good
Pirates,
one.
I think. Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
him and the Pirates. Yeah.
I'll
And
never
then-
forget Farnsworth spearing the guy from the
Ooh.
Oh,
mound.
100%.
Dude, he lives close with me. I see him all the time out. He's still massive.
He's still yoked.
Yeah,
Still
he played
yoked.
semi-pro football for one of my best
Kyle
friends.
Farnsworth?
Clearly,
Farnsworth literally
Let me tell you
retired,
something, Errol. You want to
played
bet?
indoor, and was the MVP.
No, I've seen pictures of Farnsworth. He looks,
Yeah, look at his quads. He's that big, dude.
he's gotta be doing something right now.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I
he like
saw how
full
big
on
he is.
Goldberg speared some dude.
He was
one
that
game.
big though when he was playing.
No, I'm sure, but if you look at him now, I mean, I've seen pictures of him. It's
I can find it.
ridiculous.
Yeah, he's.
I mean,
yoked.
that
He's
guy's a
yoked.
giant. I mean,
I saw him at
that
the bar
guy's-
a couple months ago, and I was like, I looked at him, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Kyle.
He's
And then-
he's a big dude, man.
He stood up, and I was like, yeah, I probably would have. I probably would have not taken that spear too well.
No. The only other one I saw was I thought Jorge Posada was going to kill Jesse Carlson. Remember, like the little skinny lefty from the Blue Jays?
That's right. That's right.
Literally, all of a sudden, I'm starting that year, and he was being an idiot, and he crossed the wrong line because he's an idiot. And so I get out there, and Jorge is literally elbowing him like in the head. Like I'm screaming, like I'm fearing for this dude's life. All of a sudden, I felt like the good Lord above me picked me up. No, it was just CC. He literally lifted me by my jersey,
dude,
and got me off. And Jesse Carlson gets up, and he literally
look at that, bro.
Oh, he smoked him. He had a baseball-sized knot on his head from Jorge just monstering elbows and fists on him.
Yeah, he looks just like that. Absolutely yoked. And I was just like, damn, I need to talk to him about whatever he's using because
Oh man, he would have
That
all.
he's probably
Does he still own those gyms down there, Goody?
I don't know. I didn't talk to him. To be honest, I was like, he was with his wife, and I was like, you do your thing. And then the guy that I was with is a big baseball fan. He's like, oh, it's going to Farnsworth. I was like,
Yeah, I knew he used to own gyms down there, but I don't know if he did.
I'm sure he does.
Once he started playing indoor, and then all right, let's just go be the MVP. And I've never done this before. And he's a martial artist too. Like the dude's crazy.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
he's a big guy.
He's awesome.
He's definitely lifting and sticking himself in the ass. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, as we do this every single week, we call this segment Goody's Bag of Balls.
My mom was gonna wire a car battery on my testicles.
Trying to put Tiger Bomb on this jungle's nuts.
That's how
Nice.
you become great, man. Hang your balls out there.
There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and segue into this. Maybe there'll be a little team brawl with, where did my boy Jay go? Jabba's out?
Jabba went to get something to eat, okay?
Tommy poops? Jabba poops.
Maybe he went to take a you-know-what, a number 2, a little scoop the poop, or poopy the scoopy, Well,
We're going to talk about the Red Sox. They seem to be pretty hot right now. The hot topic. We got Alex Bregman. We got Rafael Devers. Who's going to play third base? If I'm the Red Sox, I am going to put the best product out on the field every single time. So for me, Devers is going to stay at third. I'm going to move Bregman over to second. When Devers needs a day off, I'm going to move Bregman back over to third. Keep him kind of rotating. Obviously, Devers came out and said he's a third baseman, doesn't want to move, but I paid him a lot of money. He's going to do what I want him to do. Otherwise, it'd be hard to trade him because he's a damn good player. But I also paid Alex Bregman a lot of money.
But you don't even know if Bregman's going to stay there. That's why you have to make sure that Devers is going to be happy. Because if Devers gets traded and Bregman decides he has a good year and he says, you know what, I'm opting out on my contract, I'm going to go to free agency, which could happen. That would worry me if I was the Red Sox when you have a superstar player in Devers that you just gave 11 years, $350 million to. So I think you want to keep Devers happy. And obviously you want Bregman to be happy too, but Bregman knows how to play second. He can play.
But if he plays second in the game, that only boosts his value going into
100%.
if he opts out. So I can play second at a high level. I could play third at a high clip. You know what I'm saying? The biggest thing is he's already got his bag. They both have already got their bag. Now let's focus on winning championships. And if the best product out there is Devers at third base and Bregman at second with Story up the middle, that's a pretty damn good infield. I'm taking that infield probably 9 out of 10 times.
If
And
Story
so for
can stay healthy.
If Story can stay healthy, that will be another thing. And let's say Story doesn't stay healthy and Bregman can
You
play
can move
now.
Greggy over.
Boom. There you go. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I would keep Devers as happy as I possibly can, because if you don't, he's going to ask for a trade, and he'll be moving on somewhere, maybe to the New York Mets or maybe to the Blue Jays. And you don't know if it's going to benefit the Red Sox to do that. So I agree with you. I think you want to keep Devers happy. Bregman's going to be happy as long as he's starting and he's getting his slicks at the plate. And that's
what I'm saying.
You're not bringing him in there to not start, though.
100%.
No, he's got to start.
Yeah,
You're paying him an assload of money. He's going to play the field. Just a matter of where. Who cares if he's – I mean, yeah, you want to keep him happy, but Bregman's happy. He knew going in what the deal was. He's happy because he's playing under Cora. Cora's his boy. They have the friendly bet, all that. You saw Cora show up with the LSU jersey, whatever, when they were in Houston. I mean, they're boys. So, like, I'm sure there was some dialogue before he signed that contract. And I do like the friendly competition that there's going on in spring training and all that and the banter. And it might just be a storyline, but at the end of the day, the best product is, I think, Bregman at second base, which will only boost his value going into the next year. Prove me wrong.
That's an interesting story. I will say that I want to make sure that Rafael Devers is as happy as I possibly can. So,
and then let's go ahead and segue that into – once they're done playing, say you piss Devers off and he goes and decides to go coach somewhere else, like, or if he even wants to get into coaching. But for me, I would want to keep him in the Red Sox organization because he came up with the Red Sox. He's one of their better players, if not their best player, which brings me to there needs to be more former players coaching the game of baseball. Right? The game is starting to shift away from having former players come in, coach baseball. As guys who have played the game and been at the highest level, we offer like a different insight on things. We watch the game a little differently than the analytical guys do. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for analytics, but I don't think it's the end all be all. I think when you can get somebody who can internalize the analytics from those guys and be able to digest it and then spit it out in a way that players can understand it, that's when you have a unicorn. Not only that, we can relate to every situation that they've been in, or at least most of the situations they've been in, right? We haven't all taken PEDs.
I've only played for ex players, so that's kind of the only thing that I know, So, and I can see where like certain like a Joe Madden in the world, like everybody loved playing for him because his perspective is different, and he bringing
or Tito,
yeah. Well, and Tito grew up around the game and played and managed and kind of grew, like not necessarily, but Joe Madden didn't play anything, like. Was never a part of, like, his family didn't grow up in it and obviously had Osmus, Torrey, Girardi, Council when I finished in Milwaukee. So
and they don't even have to be managers. I'm just talking at any level. You can, and listen, Errol, when you were skating around there playing hockey or boxing, I'm sure you gravitated towards the professionals and you wanted to learn and pick their brains. And how did you do this? How did you get through that?
In boxing, you always want to go to the best trainer, and the best trainers are usually ex-boxers. That's what usually it was. And even in mixed martial arts, if you go to mixed martial arts and you go to, different schools, you want to go to a guy that actually fought in the UFC, that knows the game, understands how to get to that point and get to that highest level. You don't want to go to somebody that's never been at that highest level. So I agree with you. I think
I think you're right, though, too, Goody. I think you're right, too, on the other side with, like, you want to gravitate to them. But sometimes, and what I love about certain things is when you don't have somebody that's been at that pinnacle or been to the height or been, not to the pinnacle of high, but been there, is you get sometimes a different perspective where you start looking at things differently and approach maybe, oh man, that makes sense because you're only looking at it from the highest intensity in certain things. So I think there's a little bit, I think there's more of the analytics than there is just a feel, like the Stick Michaels of the world where, he went and put eyes to the product. He didn't look at these numbers and, it has 10-degree vertical horizontal break and this, that, and everything. He did the eye test and was out there watching. And I think there needs to be more of that.
Needs to be more of that, hands down, no question. I mean, even in corporate America, like you're going to go to the boss and ask him, hey, how did you climb the ladder? How did you get here? How did you do that? And I think I think there's going to be a shift within baseball to where it starts now. you see former players. Daniel Vogelbach is one who's with the who's he with now?
Yep. He just got signed. Well, Craig Breslow's the damn GM of the Red
That's
Sox.
what I'm saying. And you got Michael
T.Y.
Young as a GM. You got
Chris Young.
Chris Young. I mean, like
Yep.
you have all these guys that are starting to trickle back in. I think there's going to be a shift. I just don't know when it's going to be. Dude, I played for a lot of teams to coach for them. And with 30 years playing this game, I basically got like, oh, you're not qualified. And I'm I know analytics.
Before we get into the next segment, I do believe that if you want to be coached by the right guy, you want to be coached or managed by a guy that's been there before, understands the game, understands how to get to that point. If you go right now in the minor leagues and you go to a guy that has never been there or has never been to the big show, what are you going to do? How do you know?
Exactly.
I'm further than you were. Why am I going to take information from you when I've gone further than you have? So
yeah, but they can, just because they haven't gone as far, like sometimes
I understand what you're saying.
the right time. You still can take value from it.
Yes. There's a time and place for all of that. I do agree. There's a time and place for all that. And those guys, that's what they do. They study that stuff day in and day out. They know the ins and outs and how to make this better and make that pitch better and your swing better. And they understand all that. And I get that. I do. But when you're on the mound, you're not worried about how much my break is, how much vert I got or how much horizontal or my approach angle. You're not worried about that. You're worried about getting outs and throwing up zeros. That's what you're worried about. And that should be it. Throwing strikes, getting outs, and throwing up zeros. Anyways, all right, moving on to the next one. Good friend of mine, Joba, you may know him, Eric Cressy. Yep. He's like world-renowned strength conditioning coach. He does some work with the Yankees. He has a facility up in Boston. He also has one now down in, is it Vero Beach?
Yeah, it's Vero.
Is it Vero?
Yeah.
I think it's in Vero. Anyways, I've been there. It's great. Love him. Actually stayed at his house when I was up there. He has a lot to say, and he holds when he speaks, his words hold a lot of weight. But he tweeted out recently, no MLB pitcher has thrown more than 3 innings yet, but high school arms threw complete games in Florida this week, and the high school kids will be playing fall ball 4 weeks after the World Series ends. The first fix for the injury epidemic is more about math and common sense than cutting edge ideas. And I think that's fantastic. Listen, I gave a guy, I've been working with a kid down here. His name's Rylan Happel. We have been grinding, working on trying to get his velo up. He went out last outing and threw a no-hitter, first no-hitter for his high school, and he was throwing anywhere from 81 to 86. Okay, wow. The guy's 6'8", no hit, right? But he threw 7 innings, complete game out of his second outing, right? Now he's a senior, so he's expected to go to college and all that, so he'll have some downtime. But for all the other kids,
you let him do that?
I'm not his coach.
Yeah, true.
All I do is I train him. But when he sent me his mom sent me the text and it said 7 innings, and it, I didn't register that it was a no hitter. It was 7 innings, 1 walk, 7 punch. And I looked at it and I put LFG. I was pumped up for him. And then he texted me like, I don't know, an hour or two later. He's like, I might have thrown a no hitter. Now he's a little cadet-y. I love him to death. And then I looked back and I was like, Space Cadet. He's out there, bro.
I understand what.
My dog threw chicken nuggets in the microwave for 30 minutes. But he threw a no-hitter too. So, those guys are special. They don't have it all up there, but they seem to get it done on the field. But I think what Eric's saying is absolutely right. There needs to be a break-in period, and I know the fall is extremely short for high school, and especially down here, kids play year-round. So going back, we talked about the injuries and how it's an epidemic amongst everything going on in baseball.
I would agree with you. There definitely has to be a break. I think people's arms, especially pitchers, there's been more injuries to the forearms and the shoulders than we've ever seen.
There's never no off season.
No, there is no. I mean, some of these players after the season, they're going to the Dominican Republic. They're playing in Venezuela or Puerto Rico. I think there has to be some kind of conclusion. If these guys are making millions and millions of dollars, and I understand they want to keep, obviously, they want to keep the pace. They want to make sure their technique is good for spring training. I think it puts them in a position where it puts you in a position where you need the time off to make sure that you heal. A lot of these big time pitchers we've seen over the last couple of years have had problems staying healthy because they're not getting time off and putting themselves in a good position to succeed. So,
but you have a world-renowned strength and conditioning coach who knows everything about the shoulder, elbow, everything about the body, all of that chiming in on this. He's somebody you want to listen to, right? Like I said earlier, his words have value. They hold a little bit of weight, especially within the baseball and football community, because he does train some quarterbacks. I think Daniel Jones was down there as well. So, at least Daniel Jones most of the time can stay healthy, just whatever.
Oh, could you stop? Everybody likes to bring up Daniel Jones. I feel bad for that kid. That guy gets thrown under the bus.
Hey, he got the bag though. He's fine. He got the bag. He got his bag.
I feel bad for him. A lot of people, all these Giant fans too, they throw him under the bus too, man. They just kill him. They absolutely destroy him. I feel so bad for him.
Poop said maybe he shouldn't be trash.
Feel bad he got $40 million a year to.
Yeah, my bad. Throw with your luck.
He earned that money for 1 year. I mean, Saquon Barkley gave him that money,
Well, he should say thank you to Saquon. Soto bought what's his name, a freaking new Tahoe. Maybe Daniel Jones should open the bag up a little
Brett
bit.
Beatty.
Yeah,
there was a report that Stroman might get traded for Beatty.
It's
that would be wild. I just saw the Rays too sold their franchise. That was a topic of discussion there on the old Twitter sphere or X sphere, whatever, Xavier, whatever you want to call it.
Did you see what they did? Yeah, obviously Steinbrenner Field did a bunch of stuff. The only thing that they can't touch when the Rays go play, but they raised the ticket prices like 40%.
You have to. That's exactly what I told my wife. You have to raise the ticket prices up because
the crazy part is they're going to get people to do it, and it's still they're going to get the same amount of people that they were getting at the Trop in 12 to 15, but it's going to feel packed and it's going to be so different. Yes. And they're able to change everything about it. The one thing that will be weird, though, is like when the Yankees play the Rays, they have to go to the visiting side because the Rays stay on the home side the entire year.
That will be a little awkward for them.
Yeah, that would be weird. I've done it before, like gone to I was like, oh shit, I'm on the visiting side now. I'm not on the home side. I've definitely done it before. So
a little awkward, but whatever. Yeah. It's still honestly, when those games happen, it's still going to be. It's going to be probably 75% Yankees fans.
Yeah.
It's always when you play Tampa, anywhere you play as a New York Yankee, it's maybe aside from Boston and maybe LA, because LA was the only team that came to Yankee Stadium that took over our stadium. But aside from that, it's basically a home game for New York.
And they'll get more.
Cleveland too. Cleveland's good.
A total of the year, I bet they average more than what they did at the Trop, just because the Trop is so big, though, too.
Oh, 100%. Uh-oh.
What was that? Was that a fart?
Is that a fart?
Sorry, I farted.
Oh, that's a good one.
That was a good one. I don't know if Shane Greene. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, no, he's supposed to be in bed 30 minutes ago. I Royal Rumbled his ass for 45 minutes, and maybe he's concussed. You concussed? All right, beat it, geek.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Goody's bag of balls of the week. And now, ladies and gentlemen, our golf clap of the day.
This deserves a golf clap.
No doubt. Golf clap. Golf clap.
The golf clap of the day goes to the NHL, ladies and gentlemen, as a successful NHL All-Star game or fourth, what do they call it? Four Nations Championship. It was fantastic to watch. It went to overtime. It was something that really stood out and something that you can look forward to in the Olympics next year. As Team USA falls short to Team Canada in overtime, Connor McDavid scores the game-winning goal, which sends the United States home in Boston. But it was a successful tournament. It was fun to watch. It shows you that the NHL has figured something out. Gary Bettman has figured something out, that these teams, these players are playing for their team colors. They're not playing for money. They're not playing for, superstardom. They're playing for their country's colors. And it was fun to watch. And congratulations for Team Canada. I'm not going to congratulate them any more than that. But there's been talks all over social media after the game. A lot of players, Matthew Kachuk went after some of the players over there, and then some of the Canadian players went out and put up the Canadian flag. This is what's good for hockey. This is going to bring hockey all the way to the top as it's growing astronomically throughout the world, including the United States. And Team USA Hockey going and being one of the top powerhouses only is going to help hockey grow in the future. So my golf clap of the day goes to Gary Bettman and the NHL for a successful, wonderful championship for the All-Star Game. So golf clap of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Bettman, as he is the best commissioner in hockey, but really the best commissioner. He is the only commissioner in hockey. But
I think PK needs to be the commissioner.
Oh, I love PK Subban. His takes were so good during the season.
Epic.
So good.
Epic.
Okay.
And his mink jacket that he had, the one thing was legendary.
Yeah, well, listen, he is a legendary dresser. There's no question that he likes to dress and show off with all the different things that he likes. By the way, I got to say something about Subban. Subban is a great commentator, but please, I don't care what you say and how much you want to, pat or, tap the United States on the shoulder. We all know who you were rooting for. You were rooting for Team Canada. You played for Team Canada, and you were very happy that Team Canada and Conor. I don't know how.
I mean, he's a French Canadian.
I know, but you watch it and you said that he wasn't voting for one or the other. That's a lie. So damn well who he was rooting for, and that was Team Canada. And Conor, I don't know how the United States in overtime left the best player in the world open. To put it right in the back of the net. And Hellerbuck, who had one of the best tournaments you can ever have as a goalie. And by the way, there's a goalie over there for Team Canada I can't stand, who put on a show in the third period. So, and that's the only reason why Team Canada that game went to overtime, and then Team Canada won. So it was a great game. It was fun to watch. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to former 10-year MLB pitcher Shane Greene, who pitched from 2014 to 2023, and is still a free agent for all you guys, all the executives and all the GMs out there. He played for the Yankees, the Tigers, the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Cubs, and could be playing for a team near you. So get ready for Shane McMahon, or whatever you want to go, McDaddy himself, who owes me a game, by the way. Well, we were supposed to go to a game together, but only if it was happening in Philly, but whatever. When we come back, we'll have Shane Greene on the show. But first, who do we got? Tommy Scoops? We got Tommy Scoops with the Sports Minute.
This is the Joba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
Well, all right. We are back with some scores. But first, over in the NFL, potential number one pick, Penn State defensive end Abdul Carter will not be working out at the Combine. Carter is actually nursing a shoulder injury, sustained against Boise State in the playoff game. Carter is expected to actually work out for his pro day at Penn State. In another NFL news, the Cowboys plan to be selectively aggressive in free agency. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember, owner Jerry Jones made similar statements last free agency, saying that he was going to be all in. So we shall see if that holds true. And to finish off over here in the NBA, the 76ers, Joel Embiid is not ruled out for the season after getting a second opinion on his knee injury. Embiid will actually get additional testing on his knee to establish a better timeline for his return, if he even returns at all. Now, staying with the NBA, for Scoops to Scores, the Wizards currently have a 1.89 to 88 lead over the Nets in the fourth quarter, while also in the fourth quarter, the Pistons have an 87 to 75 lead over the Clippers. The Nuggets currently hold a 109 to 101 lead over the Pacers, also in the fourth quarter. With 10 minutes in the fourth quarter, the Bulls are blowing out and dominating the 76ers 117 to 76. The Hawks currently have a 66 to 61 lead over the Heat, while at halftime, the Thunder lead the Timberwolves 64 to 45. And for our only NHL game currently ongoing, the Sharks are leading the Jets 1-0. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to kick it back to the boys for their next guest on Joba and the Mouth.
Any questions?
This is the Joba and the Mouth Show.
Who the hell is ass cheeks? I never heard of a skin flu. Not me! Actually harmful. Force milk out of somebody's bottom. A baby turtle. Duh! Goodbye.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Joba and the Mouth. 672-3108 is the number to call. You can go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Joba in the Mouth every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listing for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Before we get our guest in, go to iceshaker.com, and we have these wonderful Joba and the Mouth ice shaker. This is wonderful. They're sexy, and Shay needs to get one and show it off to all his teammates, his family members. Maybe we'll get Joba's face right smack on the big one, and maybe Joba will sign it for him. You can go to iceshaker.com and shop all their official licensed collections from Star Wars to Marvel and so much more. You can get yourself a Joba in the Mouth. You can get yourself a Yankee one with no facial hair of Joba Chamberlain, or maybe with facial hair with Joba Chamberlain. You can get Derek Jeter with facial hair. You can get Paul O'Neill with facial hair, or maybe even Shane Greene. Ladies and gentlemen, it is free if you spend $50 or more. Go to iceshaker.com and check out all their great products and deals. Iceshaker.com, where you can get double deuce of your Joba in the Mouth shaky bakey. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have our very special guest. He's been waiting patiently and carefully. A guy that doesn't need any applause, but if he wants one, I will give him one. We're now talking to former, or still, 10-year MLB pitcher Shane Greene, who pitched 2014 to 2023 with the Yankees, Tigers, Braves, Dodgers, and Cubs. Shane O'Mac, what's up, buddy?
What's happening?
You look good, man. I mean, the last time we saw you, you were a little, sitting in your chair with all your memorabilia around you. Now you're standing and you're getting ready, maybe for a baseball season. Your thoughts of this past year, obviously, with so much great fun watching in the World Series. You got to see the Dodgers and the Yankees. Were you surprised that the Dodgers, outdueled the New York Yankees in the World Series?
I mean, honestly, I was did it so quickly. I thought it was going to be like a grinder of a series, but baseball, man, anything can happen, really.
So one of the storylines this offseason has been the Dodgers with the deferred money. It's gotten up to $500 million in total. As a player yourself, like, are you surprised that there's so much extremes with how much players defer the contracts?
No, I don't think so. I mean, at the end of the day, you want your money, right? So defer it for the rest of my life. Most of these guys that are getting the deferred money are getting so much money up front anyways. Does it really matter? I don't think so. If that's what it takes to get the deal done, why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, I know. Greenie, you don't ever get older. Like, dude, you look the same every damn time I see you. Like,
Yeah,
what the hell?
I appreciate that very much. Too bad the algorithm doesn't agree with you when they put my age into the algorithm. It's not good.
Yeah, I mean, I just get like grays in here, but you look the damn same, other than not having facial hair when we first were playing together. But yeah, man, like
Yeah.
I always we talk every here and now and there, and you kind of are a free agent warrior in that aspect. Like, what is your because I don't think some people understand the mindset as we get older, like they're pushing old dudes out, and let's just be honest. They're going younger, and that's just kind of the way it is. And you're 36, and so like, kind of, what's your mindset going into it? And I know it's more so kind of, I don't know if you guys saw Castellanos the other day. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be my own agent as I'm getting older. Like, I can do this and save money or whatever. But like, what's your mindset going into it? Because I know you still want to play and you can still pitch. We've seen it, and like, just your thought process of like, well, shit, how long am I going to wait? What do I want to do? Or, am I still going to play catch? Because I know working out and playing catch and long toss and shoulder programs, it's a grind in the off season. Like, I understand it. And so like going into not knowing for sure, because there are years where you're like, I know I'm getting a job here, but as you get older, sometimes there's just not.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last 3 years have been a grind for me getting a job. 2 years ago, I didn't get a job until like July with the Cubs. So I've kind of been in this situation before, but you know how it is as you get older, they put the age into the algorithm, and it doesn't really look as good. But the way I view myself is like, I feel young. I still do the same things I was doing.
You look young, dog.
I appreciate that. But last year I dyed my hair blonde trying to make the team. I was trying to trick them all. But
Don't tell
no,
don't
man.
tell Jabba that. He's been attacking me since I what did they call it?
Yeah, but he's still in his 30s. You're in your 40s.
So what? I'm 42 years old. What is the difference between 36 and 42?
Well, there's a 3 in
years?
front of his and a 4 in
So
front of
what?
yours.
That
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I'm in pretty good shape for a 42-year-old. What does that mean, Jabba?
Not
And
a
when
damn thing.
When I steal from you, at 5 chances, stealing from you, you're not going to be saying that I'm 42 years old. You're going to be saying, well, you got a
Okay.
little lucky there.
Yeah, and then when you don't steal and get picked off, what are you going to say? Nothing. You're going to put your tail in between
I'm
your
not
legs
going to
and make
say
an
anything.
excuse.
I'm not
exactly.
going to make. I'm not going to say anything.
Because you can't say anything.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
42 is not that old. I want to play until I'm 42. I don't know if they'll let
There
me
you
though.
go. Hey, look, Tom Brady won a Super Bowl at the age of 42, so why couldn't I do it?
Yeah. You're right about that. No, it's
I mean, Verse still throwing shit.
That's and that guy's still
Randy-
throwing a hundy.
Randy Couture won the world
Which is-
championship in the UFC at the age of 42.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just try to get out of bed and not creak every morning.
Yeah. I have my days. I tell you what, I had surgery last year on my flexor, and that was like the first time that I could tell that I was older, just because like
the bounce
the
back?
just the first couple of weeks, just like the first couple of weeks, I was so sore and felt like I was like sleeping all day, But once I was able to like get out of that brace, I felt young again. But for whatever reason, while I was in the brace, with the way that my career had been leading up to that moment, I might as well have been 60 for those 3 weeks.
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, with having Carter and Carter's now a freshman in college, as weird as that is probably for you. That was a nice thing for me. It was like playing catch with him and throwing him BP and like playing long toss. And he'd want to play playing long toss. And, we'd be end zone to end zone at his high school field. And, I'm still throwing it 90 yards, whatever. He's like, you can't get it to me. I was like, dog, I'm done. I don't need to prove to you that I can throw it end zone to end zone anymore. Like, I'm still playing catch with you and spinning stuff and doing everything. And then he got lippy one day and wanted to try and step in the box against me, and he didn't stand a chance. But yeah,
because then you had to turn it on.
Oh, 100%. Like, oh, really? I'm like, no, I still there's, and I got to 94, and that was just playing catch. That wasn't doing anything. So
I need to get you on the track, man. Sounds like.
Dude, TrackMan, Repsato, all this shit that I hear with Carter now, and I'm like, dude, just go get outs. I don't care what it is. Just get outs. Go get hits.
Man.
I don't care.
Jabba's more, he's more interested in wiping his own ass now. Being at age 38. By the age of 53, he might have to have somebody wipe his ass.
I'm mad at it.
How about you, Shane?
As long as you can afford it, you're good.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, he might have 2 or 3 nurses.
As long as
he'll get some deferred money for that.
As long as she's using dude wipes and taking care of my 2-hole, I'm good.
Don't worry, Jabba can now coach the Yankees because they got the beard policy lifted.
Oh, 100%. That was literally.
What do you think about that, Jabba?
Dude, it's crazy. I literally, like, we had been talking about this, and obviously it's been a topic of conversation. Like, obviously when I went to Detroit, my beard was crazy and whatever. But it literally, like, people were like, why don't you go? Like, they have, guys there, like Didi was there. Didi's he only spent like 4 or 5 years there, and he's a guest instructor. They brought Roger back, which is great. Awesome. Andy, CC, all the normal guys. Swish didn't spend that long there. And so I just threw a tweet out there just because I was, just bored and doing whatever. And they pay pretty well if you tweet enough. So, and it ended up getting like almost 500,000. And they're like, why don't you do it? I was like, well, are they going to make me shave? Like, do I have to shave? And it went crazy.
Yeah.
And then it's just so funny within I think it was like 3 or 4 days that it happened. I'm like, oh, so can we come now? Like, I don't know what the hell they think and who they invite and what they do. Like, I honestly don't know. But
Shane, you want to hear something funny? Jabba actually is going to have a new job during Christmas. He was asked to be Santa Claus from the Macy's Day Parade. What do you think about that?
Wow.
I've already been in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I don't need to go again.
Santa Claus? Java Claus. That's what we'll call you. Java Claus.
It's not white. It's not white enough yet. It's not white enough yet.
Can I be a reindeer?
Oh, 100%. You can come on the float. We'll just hang out. We'll go to American whiskey back and forth.
Goody will be your elf.
Oh no. Goody can be a reindeer too. I think Speedy's our elf.
Oh yes, we do have to figure out the Christmas graphic how that would work. I think I was.
Yeah.
I think either I was an elf or Fish was, or I was a reindeer or Fish was a reindeer. I don't remember the exact.
Hey,
What
bro.
was I supposed to be?
I'll be an elf. I don't give a shit. What up, Greenie?
What up,
I'd rather
Goody?
be Rudolph.
Bro, we gotta get together, dude. You're right down the road for me.
I'm right here, man.
All right. Oh, here's the moment of truth here.
There it is.
Oh no,
Jeez.
Fish was a snowman.
why am I
Java was the elf.
Why am
I was the elf.
Why
Oh.
am I the sexy woman? I don't understand that. I don't.
Because you got tits.
I don't have tits. I have pecs. Difference. That's a difference.
What is Poops over there? What was he?
Oh.
Like a
Looks like a
baby
trainee
reindeer?
or
Is it like a baby reindeer?
Shane, you guys you've been talking to any
Rudolph.
teams? What do we got? Any irons in the fire?
Nah.
Or who? Are you still working
No,
with Chuck?
no love, because I had the surgery. They basically want to see me healthy, and it's still pretty early. I was pushing it pretty hard to try to potentially throw for teams prior to spring, but nobody was really showing any interest. So I backed down the throwing program, and now it starts. Everybody's healthy. Everybody thinks they're about to win the World Series. So like, there's no room for me, anyways. So backed off the throwing program a little bit, and I just started throwing again on Monday. So probably get off the mound in like 2-3 weeks. It feels good. It feels strong.
Yeah.
It's
Well, and
just-
too, like this actually isn't a terrible time, Greenie, because it's like now you're gonna get those people that are like, oh, I'm healthy, and then you're seeing obliques come in, and you're seeing all that stuff that we've all
well,
seen
even
as
for me
pitchers.
too, like it gives me more time.
Right.
Yeah.
Even for me, it
It's
gives me
not-
more time. 'cause
it's not a bad
the
position to
the
be
surgery
in.
was like a 12-month period. Yeah. The surgery, the rehab process, I had what Strider had, and it's a 12-month process. And March 1st would have been 10 months. So I was pushing to try to be able to do that, but realistically,
surgery?
that's like Meister.
Nice. I love Keith.
But like, yeah, he's the best. And I like I
You
said,
might-
I felt strong and everything, but like because I knew I was pushing it, I was like, if nobody's super interested right now, there's no point in continuing to push this thing when, at this point spring started. We're looking at 2-3 months probably before anybody's getting any calls again, so
By the way, we are talking a former 10-year MLB pitcher. He's still a free agent. Shane Greene played and pitched from 2014 to 2023 with, if you're a Yankee fan, you know who Shane Greene is. The Yankees, the Tigers, the Braves, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and maybe a team near you as he's looking and he's waiting for somebody to give him a call. Hey, maybe Jabba should be your agent. I mean, Jabba Claus should be out there trying to pitch
Jabba
Shane
Claus.
O'Mac.
Dude, I can't even get it. I can't even get a guest instructor invite. Shit.
Seriously.
I'm not gonna get Greenie signed.
I mean,
Seriously.
it would be probably cool.
nobody's
Shane.
calling Java back, I guess.
No, it's bullshit.
Come on. Shane,
Hey,
wouldn't it
I'll
be
get on the
cool-
phone and hit some dudes up for you. I don't care.
Wouldn't it be cool?
Oh, I mean, I still know all of them, but
Wouldn't it be
Cleveland
cool
would be a
Locker,
tight
man.
spot for you, bro.
If-
Cleveland.
if Jabba reached out to the Reds or reached out to the Phillies and said, listen, I've got a pitcher that's going to pitch
Tito's with
his
the Reds
ass
now. I
off."
can.
Yeah.
Hold on,
There
bro.
you go.
We play with Cotham. Have you hit up Cotham?
Caleb.
Yeah.
Is-
Yeah,
have you-
I threw for them 2 years ago.
and nothing.
The problem is when you put my age into the algorithm, it doesn't look good.
What is
I
this
understand that.
algorithm? What is this?
The agent algorithm.
What is this algorithm crap?
It's the analytics
It's like
of
when-
what they
Analytics
do.
of
Yeah, it's like-
agencies. Clearly.
It's like when they
Yeah.
when they put each team has like their own system, right? And so they put in like your metrics or whatever, and it tells you or it tells them what your season's gonna look like based off of X, Y, and Z. And
Like
if
they
Z,
had your injuries, velo.
yeah, like
career,
every
like, just
every
all the
team
pluses.
has like their own system, I'm sure, but they have to put the age in there. It's like when you get on the body fat machine, if you put 23 or you put 43, it changes the body fat. So it's the same thing.
Oh,
It's
hold
so
on one
stupid.
second. So hold on one second. So if your body fat says 43, that's going to hurt your chances of getting signed by a Major League Baseball team. Come on, man. If you could throw the
Yeah.
ball, and you
Brother,
can
this was a bag of balls that I was talking about. Like the
Oh, you take your
analytical,
bag of
the
balls.
analytics is what's hindering that, and the game
Yeah.
is getting younger, and they're pushing former players out of the game and guys who could still compete at a high clip out of the game. Because why would I pay Shane Greene $2 million when I can go pay 3 guys league minimum and
The same
potentially
thing
get
have the right.
And those three guys throw 100 miles an hour now.
and they also have options,
So
so I can just
yeah,
up and down, right? Like that's what's
yeah.
going on.
Because
The
how
game is getting
options work, like you get 3, technically you get 4 because you can have 4, but you could go up and down 17 times in a year.
I did
But
it.
that's just one option.
Yeah, but not anymore. They changed it.
No,
you can
they
only
changed
you can
it
only
now.
do yeah.
Is it 5?
Yeah, it's 5.
Oh, I did
So
5 in
that's why
a month. I was
Yeah,
5 in
that's
a month
why
with New York.
that's why now the guys in the bullpen, most of them got to be stretched out, because back in the day they would
You could-
have like the one spot in the bullpen that was a revolving door. It was just the
Scranton Express.
the next starter in AAA would just be the long guy, and then when he pitched, it would be the next.
and then he would done, then he'd go back.
But they can't do that anymore. So now everybody in the
do
bullpen's
5.
got to throw multiple innings, and then you have like maybe your 8th and your 9th inning guy. But most everybody now has to throw like multiple.
Yeah, because you
multiple
remember
innings.
it, and they're trying to save money too. Because remember, every time you'd come up, because you'd have to wait the 15 days if you got sent down, but you'd get your 7 and 7 if like somebody
Yeah.
got hurt, and it'd be straight cash, homie. Like
Yeah.
we had a dude, he did it 3 times in, I think it was like 17 days, and he made more in his 7 and 7 money than he made all year in the minor league.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's kind of like McClung. He went into the slam dunk contest. He's won 300,000, and in the G League, he's only made 100. So you might as well every single year do the slam dunk contest because he's going to make his money. So
Goody,
why not?
you didn't take Greene to the All-Star game. It was right by you guys.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah,
Dude, I haven't seen Shane, or I talked to somebody about you recently, and they said you were working out with him. Tony Castro, maybe he was working with Chuck Wolf for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was talking. I was like, "How's he look?" He's like, "Oh, he looks good." Da da da. He said you gave him some insight. I was like, "Pick his brain, bro." But Shane lives right down the road from me, dude. We kicked it back in the day.
Yeah,
I just haven't.
We used to see each other every day.
Yeah. Now are you still over in? You're on the lake now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Dr. Phillips.
Oh, dude,
That's
yeah,
a
you're
good one.
super close. We need to get together, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't be throwing his address out here all willy nilly. You guys talk about that.
Yeah, that's true. I
I
mean,
was like, shit. We're just gonna out here throwing Greeny shit out in the open.
I mean, Dr. Phillips is huge, dude. I'm in Orlando. Who cares? You know?
there he goes trying to pitch his Orlando crap again. And it's propaganda. I
Bro,
mean,
he's an O-Town boy too, bro. Don't let him lie.
Listen, we're all about the Macy's Day Parade.
Look at O-Town boys. We look good, bro. Look at this.
Yeah, come on. We stay young down here now.
It's that vitamin D, cuz.
Is that what you call it? Vitamin B?
We just got sun this time for the first time in like 3 weeks.
Dude, I don't know how you do that.
It was minus 30.
You know what? You know what I want to see? I want to see Fish create like a yo-yo. Joba have like Shane Greene on one hand and Goody on the other, doing like throwing yo-yos.
Where is this going?
You're out of your mind.
You guys
what are
say
we
you're
talking
O-Town.
about, dog?
You guys are talking about being O-Town. I mean, the last time I've seen that band or the boy band, it was in the 90s. Why are we bringing up O-Town? How about let's talk about the Backstreet Boys and what is it? Brian, Backstreet Boys' son, trying to get on The Voice or whatever, American Idol. How about that? Let's talk about that.
It's vitamin D.
Playing his guitar.
In Zimbabwe's.
What happened? What was that?
It's vitamin D in Zimbabwe's. That's what keeps us young down here, dog.
Yeah, that's gonna get you right. That's gonna send you right to the hospital in a couple of years.
You better be worried about that. They're gonna MLB's gonna suspend you for some random drug tests like they love to do.
Well, I've been suspended for like 3 years now, so it is what it is.
Is that what you call it? It's a suspension? That's a long suspension.
I'm serving a suspension.
That
was too damn good.
Shane, I think it would be cool if Goody wants to coach. He wants to manage a baseball team. Why
No.
don't you be his assistant manager, assistant coach on the bench, and you guys run an organization? What do you think about that?
I don't
He's
think
in.
that I could. I don't think that I could have that much responsibility.
I wouldn't have the patience.
No, I think if I'm coaching, I'm like a roving type of person, or
This is
I'm
a
a
special
bullpen coach,
assistant.
and that's it.
Yo, I wanted to be the bullpen coach for the Braves this year, or the Red Sox this year, and I hit up Bailey, and he's like, "It isn't what you think. You have to know all these analytics and this and that." I'm like, dude,
Yeah, I'm sure, but
just throw me
that's
in
the
there, dude.
that's the dream job. Well,
That's
pitching
what I
is the
told him.
dream job, but
At the
Again,
same
no.
time,
Yeah, the
I can,
Braves,
I can,
they signed
I
your
can
friend,
tell you
Farmer.
right now. I can tell you right now. Mike Harkey doesn't give two shits about analytics.
Zero.
None. Zero.
A big old zero. But I told him, and I'm like, that's the dream.
nowadays most teams have a guy. Most
Yeah,
teams
you have
have
a
like an analytic.
you have your pitching coach, you have your
Most
assistant
teams now
pitching
they have
coach.
like a pitching coach, a bullpen coach, and then you have like a analytic
The other
translator.
guy that does, like, he's looking at the iPad with what they.
Yeah, he like
Hark doesn't.
he connects the dots for the older
You know that
guys.
as well as I do. Hark don't give a shit.
No,
No.
you just reach out to the Houston Astros. They know all about using iPads.
And stealing the Cardinals analytics. Shane,
Yeah.
now that
Hey,
the Rockies
I listened
hired
to that book.
finally
That's
3
pretty.
years ago
That's
now,
pretty
yeah.
crazy.
Now, finally, since the Rockies hired their analytics guy 3 years ago, now every team finally has one after the 20 years that since Oakland implemented the analytics and whatever analytics were before that. But now you're the expert on the agent analytics.
Yeah, there's at this point everything's analytics, and it's gonna stay that way. You know.
No, it's definitely going to stay that way. And it's funny. Nick Goody, you mentioned the Braves. They just hired Joba and Shane's friend Buck Farmer. Is now shout out to him. Is now on the Braves.
Oh, yeah, I know Buck.
Yeah, the farmer.
Yeah,
Buck just signed with the Braves. Wow, congrats,
Last week,
Buck.
yes. Yep.
Well,
Big George.
an old. Hey, Greenie, would you remember Preston Claiborne?
yes.
Yeah,
he's the bullpen coach or the assistant coach for.
He's the
Yankees,
assistant
right?
pitching coach for the Yankees now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been in the organization for a few years. He was there.
Yeah, like 3 or 4.
20
He was in the minor leagues for a little bit.
Yeah, he was actually our
Yeah.
AAA bullpen coach when I was there in 21. He came up for a little bit and still the same old Roy, dude, throwing hammer dips
Yeah.
in and freaking
Oh,
talking shit to everybody.
we went to Boone Logan's wedding together, and that was a complete disaster.
Oh, I love Booney.
Oh, he is the biggest red ass. What? Oh,
I got some stories. No, well,
I never
Boone-
heard
both of them,
Wow.
basically, both of them.
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
you, Shane? Have you ever heard of the skin flute? Have you ever?
Have I heard of the skin
played a
flute?
skin flute? Yeah.
Yeah, Jabba told me that you were the best in the business at playing it.
Well, listen. I don't play a flute. I actually play the drums. So whatever sticks I need to use, I like to pound on them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah.
you like to play. You like to play the guitar. You like to play the strings, right? You got Jabba on one string and Goody on the other. You know, like Tipsy Doodle.
Bro, look at Shane. Do you think he plays a skin flute? This guy.
Did you the things that he pulled? Greenie was a silent assassin. Like, the man was just an absolute anomaly. You would never know. Like, and we won't go specific.
You got to hide your kids, hide your wife when he's around.
And you're just like, next thing you know, he's just off. You're like, all right. I mean, because he's a good-looking cat. He's charming, very soft-spoken.
And then he balls.
And
That-
literally,
that- I didn't.
doesn't give a shit. Doesn't care.
Shane, did you hear something
didn't-
new? I don't know if you heard this. Shane, I got news for you. Jabba's engaged. Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that?
Congratulations.
Thanks,
There you
Doc.
go. Look at that. He's getting married.
Congratulations. I'm in a
He's finally
hey, I
getting
believe it or
married.
not, I'm in a relationship as well. I've been in a relationship for 2 years.
Oh, listen to
Look
this.
at you, Greenie.
Look at you.
Well,
So,
I retract
wherever-
what I said.
No, I mean, we still have to.
He was the
live-
gayest of the gay.
We still lived it.
I retired from that game.
You retired. That shit.
My-
That shit got stressful, dog. Man.
Yeah, I retired from that game.
Hey, we ran
You can't
into
play that game forever.
one of your friends in Radio Row, Haley Hunt.
Mm.
She said, "Do you remember Haley Hunt?"
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Ooh,
Did I?
that's when you start getting names. You're like, oh,
No. She. Yeah. No.
but
She
you
was-
know how we remember these, Goody. Well, you probably weren't as bad as me and Shane.
I was.
You would have to say the name and the city, and then you would get it.
Well, okay. Well, we were in New Orleans, but She runs a like a charity type deal out here called I think it's Act Verb or Verb Kind. That's what it's called. Verb Kind. There she is, right there. And when we mentioned that, you know, I played for the Yankees, she was like, "Oh, I know Shane Greene." Da 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 da. And she's like, "He's very zen, like just goes with the flow." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you're describing him pretty well." But,
by the way,
Shane
she's
the Zen Master Greene.
just so you know, Goody, she's actually listening to this show right now. So
well, she's great. She was great. She actually texted me the other day. She wants me to. Or, I mean, you could come too. She wants to go. She wants us to go to jail with her. Is what it is. So
there you go.
And go
to
speak
jail.
to the kids and that are incarcerated. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Make sure you bring Goody's bag of balls with him too.
Sorry,
I'll bring mine and Shane.
His ball bag.
A ball bag. Yeah.
Now the prison guards will confiscate those.
Yeah. Yeah.
My dad was in the prison for 30 years, so I'm good at that.
Well,
There you go.
I'm sure you saw a lot of bags too.
Oof. The stories that my father could tell you.
Oh, I bet.
I feel like most fathers could tell some pretty crazy stories.
Yeah, but 30 years in the 30 years in the prison, you got a little bit different ones.
Shane, you
no
met
doubt.
my dad. You met my dad one of the nights we were over there. Probably, I think we were both
In
in
Orlando?
IA. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we threw a rager at the house and he was raging. My dad's
Greene,
crazy, bro.
Greene, you've met my dad too.
Mhm.
It's hard to forget my dad because he's fat and in a scooter. So you remember.
Hold on.
It's hard to forget.
Did you
I
just
love him
see
to death.
Shane's face when he went, mm-hmm? Well,
Yeah.
what's that all about? What's
My
that
dad-
all about,
my dad's
Shane?
a different dude.
I mean, like
I
I
met your
said,
dad.
man, most dads are different dudes.
He probably hit you in the Achilles with his scooter because you weren't walking fast enough. Probably.
No, my father may rest in
bro.
peace.
Move
May
over,
rest-
Flacco.
100%.
My father may rest in peace used to tell everybody the best thing about my son, the best thing what was the best line? What was the line? The best part of me, best part of my son rolled down my leg. I think that's what he said. Something like that. Or something like that. That was his line and he used. The best part of you ran
Is
down
that like the one you should have been swallowed?
Yeah, it was on your mother's back.
I think that was the line he used. The best part of you ran down my leg. I think that was the best line. That was the line he used to use in front of my friends. So that was interesting. I mean, how could you forget that? I mean, that was one of my fathers. May he rest in peace. I love you, Dad. But that was my father was an interesting cat too. He was
My
definitely
dad. My dad used to tell me I get more ass than the toilet seats at Disney, and he was right.
Was he dating Minnie?
Oh, it was a revolving door, dude.
Wow.
It was a revolving door. And I'm
I'd like
like,
to
who's
see-
this? I just
I'd
met
like
her.
to see. I'd like to
see
see
it.
Jabba's face on Papa Smurf. He kind of looks like Papa Smurf, doesn't he? What do you think, Fish?
You
what
could
do you
probably
think?
make that happen with AI.
You can make anything happen with AI now.
There it is. The Fish. What do you think? We could, and we'll make him at
Hold
what
up.
are the Smurfs? We'll call you Grouchy. You know, Shane, you'll be Grouchy, and Goody will be Vanity Smurf.
Well, the AI only works so fast. I was busy with this AI feature
Oh my
at the
goodness.
time with the Jabba Yo-Yo Master coming
Those
at
are
you.
yo-yos, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's
We're
what
gonna
Elon
need to
Musk's
update your
Grok
AI.
says.
I
That's
don't have
Elon,
any-
baby.
I don't have any tattoos in that one, so I don't know what's
We're-
going on here.
And you're also really brown.
Yes.
No.
And you're
Got that vitamin D.
Sunny day.
Goodness.
That's unbelievable.
Goodness.
Shane,
Save
come
it.
on. This is probably one of the craziest shows you've ever been on. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
It's like,
Honestly, I'm so disappointed in that picture. It's crazy.
oh,
Disappointed.
Goody.
It
Goody,
looks
you
like
did
you
that?
cut those pictures out of a magazine.
That's pretty close. I would
That was
argue.
so
You're saying it's the
so
yo-yo
bad.
Hey,
equivalent of a
is that like the clip art when we were in,
How about this
in
one?
high school?
It's so bad.
That's a good one.
Hey, be careful with that. We're using a name that's not copyrighted over here.
Oh, it's Thanksgiving. It's about brotherhood. They're all right with it.
You can save Thanksgiving for your ass, all right?
I'm sorry, Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah, all right.
I'm gonna patent Jabba Claus. That's
Or
what
is that
you want.
Columbus?
No, Indigenous People Day's right after Thanksgiving.
Greeny, I got a question for you. You played for multiple different organizations. Which one?
This is what I wanted to ask too.
Yeah. Which one was your favorite? I'm sure you get this a lot, but like,
My favorite.
who treated you the best?
Man, that's a hard question because I was in Detroit forever, but
Yeah, you were the dude there.
But I really had made a lot of good memories in Atlanta. Like the group of guys that we had there was amazing, and we were good, which obviously makes everything better.
What year did
but I
you
think
win minor league pitcher of the year? What year
that was 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2013, and then 2014 I got cut the last day of spring. Remember I brought the suit to the field.
Because you were the last
between
cut.
me and Dallin. I was the last
Yep.
cut. And then but out of all the organizations I played for, well, at least at the time, it felt like the Dodgers did the best at the analytic stuff as far as like translating it to the player. But you know, I was there 3 years ago. So since then, I'm sure everybody's pretty much caught up. But
You remember Austin Chubb?
it was definitely a different experience. It was definitely a different experience being in that like room talking scouting reports than it was in other rooms.
Higher level,
Yeah.
more able to
Yeah,
regurgitate it back to you. And I've heard nothing but great things about the Dodgers and how they treat their
But
players
that's why
so
their
well.
bullpen, everybody in their bullpen has a 2 every year. There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Do you think too, Goody? Like, I love that question. Like, do you think too, from, you know, obviously, you know, we both kind of dabbled in starting, but basically was mostly, you know, in the bullpen. Do you think that, like, from you seeing it in the minor leagues, you know, and, you know, being drafted obviously out of Daytona State, that's right, Daytona State?
Yeah.
And seeing how, like, you went to each of these teams, like, did you feel like it transgressed into more of the analytic side from being in, you know, the bullpen? And, you know, you'd be a multiple inning guy, and then you were a setup guy, and then you had some saves. You had a good year at saves. And could you see the transition, like, moving more analytical than it was like just, hey, this is field, get outs? Are you over the rubber? Like, certain things like that.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is like my playing career, I experienced like the last part of like full on just baseball. And then I've lasted long enough and been in AAA the last couple of years to see the full on like other side, you know? Like I remember training, we had a meeting about we were going to start doing shifts in the infield. And I remember that was like listening to Chinese for everybody, you know, like nobody really knew what was going on.
Do you
And
remember
that was like the first analytical anything.
Do you remember in spring training when Kotha and Mark Montgomery and Matt Tracy were throwing weighted balls? This was at Himes Complex in Tampa. They were throwing with the weighted balls against the wall, and every coach was like, they had like a scarlet letter on them, like, you stay away from that, stay away from that. And like, because that we played right around the same time.
What's crazy is Caleb and Tracy were always in like the front of that, and then now they're coaching like at the highest level in the show, you know. So it's like they were like always a year ahead of the next trend. Like I even remember Caleb telling me when I was in Detroit, like, yo, you need to get a Rapsodo. You guys don't have Rapsodo. And I'm like, never heard of it.
Who is he?
You know, so yeah, so like it's just crazy.
Where do I go see him?
Yeah, like it's crazy how these different organizations find out. I mean, even the players, I was playing, I had no idea what it was. You know what I mean? But like it's just crazy how like it slowly caught on, and then now boom, it's consumed everybody. So it's gonna be interesting to see like what's the next thing, you know.
I think I think it's going to be both. I think they're going to kind of see where it plays in, and I'm seeing this at a younger level too, especially with, you know, Carter, you know, being in college and doing all this, where he has a little bit of both, and which I like, because I still think, you know, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I still think there needs to be eyes on the product, But there also is some of this analytical stuff that can, with the biometrics, being able to go and see where your deficiencies, maybe on your front side, or you're lacking something in your shoulder. And I feel like there's a part of it, but it can't all be that. It all
Well,
can't be
it's
that.
like the biggest thing for me that I've noticed is like at the lower levels right now, a lot of these younger players, they don't understand how to play the game. And by the game, I mean like the actual game, like hold guys on, this guy, like watching the game and like, oh, this guy always takes first pitch for his first two at bats, and then he's, got a green light after that. Or, I remember being in pitchers meetings, bro, when we first got to the league, or when I did, and it was like you just went around the room like, Jabba, you faced this guy before, what do you got on him? Greene, you faced this guy before, what do you got on him? And people would be like, when he tightens his back, he's in swing mode, or stuff like that is not even talked about anymore. So like that, once that starts coming back a little bit, then I think it'll be back in a good place. But the computer's never going to tell you like this guy's got balls.
Yes.
It's never going to tell you. It's never going to tell you like this is the guy you want to start Game 7.
Well,
It's never going to tell you this is the guy.
No, that's the
it
thing.
can't read that.
You would have never had the Dustin Pedroias, the Altuves, like he's this big,
Yeah.
he doesn't do this. Like you wouldn't have those guys, like the David Ecksteins of the world. I mean, the Brett Butlers, I can bunt, but I don't hit for power. I'm fast. Like if you don't put eyes on that product, you'd have never known. And they've all had great careers.
Mhm.
And so I think you're right, where I think it's going to be, they're going to kind of find a happy medium, because you are getting some of these younger guys that were analytical guys, but they came up with kind of the both things, like you said, where the last, like baseball, how do you play? Like, you know what? I know every time I faced Pedroia, I knew he wasn't swinging at the first pitch. So I could float something in there and not have to worry about it. He wasn't ambushing. But there were other guys, I'm like, Aramis Ramirez was another thing. Oh, that's a good one, Fish. Thanks.
Oh. Yeah, you're just missing everybody else. But
Right.
yeah,
No, I agree, Greenie. I think you're right.
Shane, I have one question before we let you go, because it's a very interesting question, because you played for the Dodgers and you played for the Yankee organization. During the World Series and after the World Series, Joe Kelly came out and took digs at the New York Yankees, pretty much throwing them under the bus. What were your thoughts to Joe Kelly doing what he did? And then obviously Brian Cashman and Aaron Judge coming out and saying during spring training that people should be keeping and Aaron Boone coming out and people should be keeping their own opinions to themselves.
Well, first of all, Joe is going to be Joe no matter if he's on camera or off camera. And so
Yep.
that's Joe, and I love the guy for it. Secondly, it's good for baseball. Why did everybody watch the second game of Canada USA?
The fights.
Because they fought. If you go to a UFC fight and a fight breaks in the stand, like fighting is just, people want to see animosity. So it's good. It's good. I hope that they hate each other, because it's good for baseball, man.
No, I
think
understand
that we should be out there hitting each other in the face? Probably not, but it's good for ball. It's good. Bad publicity is good publicity, and baseball could use all the publicity in the world,
I got what you're saying, but a guy that is not playing baseball anymore, coming out and throwing, and taking shots at the New York Yankees. Now, the Yankees didn't really say anything back to him, which I'm very surprised.
No, of course,
I mean, if
but they
Nick
would never.
Swisher,
It's the Yankees.
yeah, if
They
Nick
would
Swisher was
never.
still playing on the team, I think Nick Swisher would have said something. I really do.
Maybe, but the Yankees know that they just got to go out and prove it, and they feel like that they feel like they can. Their offseason was incredible. That team is stacked. So it's,
Do you
dude,
think?
like I
Do you
said, man,
think?
it's
Do you think what the Yankees have done this offseason is enough to compete with the Dodgers if they meet in the World Series again? Do you think it's enough to
yeah,
knock
they
off
just
the deferred Dodgers? That's what I call them now.
yeah, they just competed with the Dodgers in the World Series. So now they're better. Why, now they're better, and now they've been there. Whereas like before, everybody on the Dodgers has already been there. The Yankees were all, young guys and had never been there before, So now they've been there, more experience, they're better. That rotation is going to be ridiculous. Ridiculous. And don't forget, I watched Max Fried pinch hit and walk off a team before. So like low key, they got an extra base runner and an extra bat.
And he's pinch ran a bunch.
Dude, he can fly. Like they got
the Yankees have done that before with
an ace
pitchers
on the
too.
mound. Dude, they got an ace on the mound and they got a secret weapon is what they got.
Interesting. Well,
That's crazy.
Shane, you're fantastic. We're trying to work this internet over there. You're in the dungeon or something over there. I don't know what's going on over there.
I got a lot of construction going on in my house.
I got it.
In the basement hiding.
Is that what the new woman wants? Your woman?
No, see what happens is when you're unemployed, you got to make choices for your budget, So putting some money in the house, putting it on the market, getting out, figuring out what's next,
Well, if the Phillies go to the World Series again, maybe, we can go and enjoy that. What do you think? We did have a little bit of a bet, if it was the Phillies in the World Series against the Yankees, we were going to go to the game, but that fell short, my friend. That fell short.
You didn't text me.
I know I didn't text you. I'm sorry.
Greenie, you got the same number.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
My fault. Greenie, I promise you this year we're going to be in touch. If it happens, me, you, Joba, and Goody, and the boys, we're going to the World Series.
Yeah, hopefully I'm already there in uni somehow, some way. But if not, I'll be there with you.
Oh, there you go. Anyways, Greenie, we really enjoyed this interview. You're fantastic. Keep up the comedy, man. We need to get you on a little bit more and bring out that excitement in you. I mean, Joba.
That's not Greenie. Like if
he goes with the flow,
it takes a while.
Yeah,
it takes a while for me to open up that way.
We need the guitar again.
He's like an onion.
Joba Claus needs his paddle out. He needs to pull his paddle out on you. Maybe that'll wake you up.
I love you, dude.
Nah, man,
it's great seeing you,
I'll
man.
get on here whenever. Hey, Goody, hit me up, dog. I'm right here.
I'm gonna hit you up. I'll hit you up. We gotta go get dinner or something.
There you go.
For sure.
Goody's pay. Goody's pay. There you go.
I'll pay. I don't care.
Yeah, you got a job. You got a job?
I don't.
Oh, well.
Listen.
Yeah, you work for the Guardians now, stupid.
I have a couple series this year doing pre and post game for the Guardians. Yeah.
Shane, I just want to tell you something.
You want to go? You want to go? Hopefully you're playing at that point, but like if not, come up there with me, bro.
Shane, when we were in New Orleans, I just want to let you know, all I kept hearing from this guy, Goody, is I want to go suck the head. Okay, that's all I kept hearing. I want to go suck. I said, what the hell is sucking the head?
Hey, crawfish ain't even that good. It's overrated.
Well, as soon as you say suck the head, it kind of turns me off. So
it's overrated. But hey, pull some strings. Let's do a Guardians Tigers matchup.
Okay.
Hey, I was on both of those teams too.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's all go.
I'll pitch it to the producer. I'll pitch it to the producer for sure.
Let's go.
Be tight. That'd be tight.
I want to go. What about me here? You're throwing
You
me
got nipples. I can milk you too, Errol. Come on.
Oh, you little bastard. I hate you, Goody. Anyways, Shane, we love you. Keep up the good work. We'll get you on a lot sooner than later, man. After this work in the house. I mean, the transition, my friends. You're fantastic.
Sounds good.
Keep up the good work. Shane Greene, ladies and gentlemen, 10-year MLB vet. He wants to play some more. So the MLB, all those teams that are looking for a relief pitcher, reach out to the Shane O'Mac or reach out to Joba Claus. He'll be his agent. Joba Claus.
Jolly Joba.
Jolly Joba. The Jolly Green Joba Giant. That's good. I think that's a good one. Could we put him on the Jolly Green Giant, like a face, a body or something? Somebody's got to help us out here. Fish, you got to hook this up. Help us out.
Yeah, I'm a Smurf, and now I'm the Jolly Green Giant. We got to
Jolly
pick
Green
one, don't we?
Giant.
Your whole rainbow of opportunities.
I know. We got to pick one here. Let's go, fellas.
Somebody's got to be a rainbow of junction over here. I'm trying to find out what happened to this whole thing over here. Something happened. Anyways, let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get to the Webinyama and all the other stuff that we need to get into. But first, our Sports Minute with the one, the only, Fishy Price.
2, 1. This is the Joba and the Mouth Sports Minute.
You're muted, Fest.
According to Vice President of NFLPA, Troy Vincent, we have a.
I wasn't pulling
Not a live
anything.
oyster.
Is this working? Are we on?
You're good. You're good.
All right, because we weren't supposed to start right now. All right, here we go. Sorry about that, guys. Aaron Fishman here with the Sports Minute. Right now, we have unidentified NFL team pushing for a tush-push ban. According to Vice President of the NFLPA, Troy Vincent, reports at the site of the NFL Combine, he told reporters that the play is kind of being seen as dangerous. There have been a number of injuries, especially to centers, including the Eagles center is having back surgery this year, even though the Eagles have seemed to have a major advantage with this tush-push. Teams are saying it's not really a football play. It's more a rugby scrum. We'll see if that goes through to a vote in the offseason. The teams argue it's really kind of unconfirmed who's saying it, but there is an unconfirmed report that the guy's name is that is complaining, the head coach, rhymes with Schmeyen Schmabel. Second story, Joel Embiid again getting imaging on his knee. The 76ers are continuing their slide to the bottom of the standings to the chagrin of nobody in New York that hated watching Embiid intentionally injure Mitchell Robinson, who has still not played yet this year. Well, Embiid, they're not calling it a season-ending injury just yet, but as they become more and more irrelevant, it's more than likely Embiid will be sitting down for the remainder of the season. They are still getting more testing to see what the best course of action is. And finally, RIP to longtime New York area broadcaster Al Trotwig. He died at the age of 68 today. He was a part of MSG pre and post game broadcast when I was growing up, when the Knicks were great, when the Rangers were great in the 90s, part of the Yankees broadcasts. A statement from MSG today: Al was a staple on MSG Network's Knicks, Rangers, and Yankees coverage for more than 30 years, and his passion for the teams he covered was undeniable. We're going to miss Al Trotwig. Some scores right now going to the NBA. Our scores right now, we have live, the Thunder are beating up on the Timberwolves, 111-94, with 8 minutes left in the fourth. We have right before half, the Jazz are up on the Trailblazers, 48-43. In earlier action, the Pistons beat the Clippers, 106-97, behind Cade Cunningham's 32 points, 9 boards, and 7 dimes. Nuggets over the Pacers, 125-116. Jokic, 18 points, 9 boards, 19 assists. Bulls 142 over the maligned Sixers 110. A big blowout. Josh Giddey 25, 16, and 6. And the Wizards get their 10th win of the season, beating the Brooklyn Nets 107-99. Jordan 26 points. And the Hawks 98-86 over the Heat. Still to play tonight, Hornets and Kings tipping off at 10 o'clock. Only action in college basketball, top 25. Michigan is up on Nebraska. Jaba's Nebraska, 45-41, with only 2 minutes left in the game. And right before the half, number 4, Houston is up 33-29 on number 10, Texas Tech. And in the only score in hockey right now, the Sharks are up 1-0 in the third on the Jets. Back to the show now with our next segment on Jaba and the Mouth.
Any questions?
What is this? This is the Joba and the Mouth Show.
Let's not. Who the hell is SG? Potentially harmful. Not me.
I never heard of a skin flu
Down.
or a horseradish.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, this is Jaba in the Mouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Jaba Chamberlain and Speedy Petey. You can call us at 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including Jaba in the Mouth, every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Shane Greene was fantastic. He really was. Gave us some good content, a lot of craziness, and we had to bring out his personality. He's not much he's not much of a personality. You bring him out, but he was fantastic. And he had, he had some good information as we were talking about the inside of what's going on in baseball and his thoughts of some of the players that obviously are not as equipped when it comes to getting into the league and figuring, what the league is all about. But he was fantastic. Thank you to Shane for spending about an hour with us on our show. The Associated Press reports that Victor Wembanyama was diagnosed with blood clots in his right shoulder. Wemby will miss the rest of the season, but is beginning treatment in France and is expected to make a full recovery next season. Wemby was diagnosed with a deep vein. I don't know what this means, but that was detected after the All-Star game. Wemby was averaging 24.3 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists per game, and a league-leading 3.8 blocks per game this season. ESPN reports that Greg Popovich will not return this season after being diagnosed with a stroke in November. Popovich is the oldest active NBA coach at 76 years old and is the winningest coach in NBA history with 1,390 wins. The Spurs are 21-27 this season, and Popovich said his NBA future is unclear. Well, first of all, with the Wembanyama thing, I am not surprised this is happening to Wembanyama. Now, I didn't wish this upon him. I know a lot of people liked some of the different stuff that we posted months ago where some people said he's never been hurt. He's never been out for a significant amount of time. And now this came out, and you can't pick and choose what's going to happen with your body. Blood clots, you don't wish that upon anybody. That can actually kill you. So I feel bad for Wembanyama that this has happened to him. But this has been, and I'll say this again, when you're a big guy like Wembanyama and a guy that has never been injured for a significant amount of time, and then this starts to happen, one thing starts to happen, and then another thing starts to happen, and then another thing starts to happen. I remember, and I'll bring this up because this is a guy that I've brought up many, many times on this show. Yao Ming was a player that was drafted by the Houston Rockets. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Now, obviously, he was 300 pounds and he was 7'5", and Wembanyama is like 210 pounds soaking wet, and he's long and lengthy. We all know what Wembanyama is. The problem here is when Yao Ming came to the league, he had no injuries, no prior injuries, no foot injuries, no knee injuries. This guy was a successful basketball player over there in China. And now when I look at the situation and I see Wembanyama, he was another player that came into the league from France, never had injuries. He's been playing professional basketball in France since he was 14 years old. It's a different game now. And basketball, with obviously the opportunities to train year-round and have all these different things here in the United States to help you grow as an athlete, it's a different sport. But again, Wembanyama is 7'5", 7'4", whatever size he is, whatever you want to argue. He's 7'5", and a guy that's very lengthy, has no weight on him, has stilt legs. And I'll say it again. I'm not, this had nothing to do with his ankles, his legs, his knees, his elbows, or any of that magnitude. These are blood clots. Blood clots never go away. Anybody that knows anything about blood clots, they never go away. So this guy is what? 21 years old, 22 years old, and he already has blood clots. And again, for all you people out there that like attacking me on social media, I am not trying to say that I want Wembanyama and his career to not flourish. I want to see the kid flourish. I'm not wishing anything upon him. But this is worrisome when you know a 21-year-old kid, a 20-year-old kid is getting blood clots. And now he comes back next year and he's going to have a speedy recovery. What's next for the kid? I mean, seriously, is he going to have knee problems? Is his ankles going to go on him? This has been a problem for Steph Curry. Steph Curry came into the league. He was 6'2.5", and people said his size and his problem with his size is not going to work. He's not going to be a shooting guard in the NBA. He's too small. Well, then they moved him to the point guard position, and then he had ankle problems for how many years? 4 years before he really developed and became the player that some people believed he was going to be, coming from Davidson and taking his team to the Final Four. This is a different position. If I was a Spurs fan, I would be worried. You just gave up a significant amount. Well, maybe not as much as you would have thought, but you gave up a certain amount of pick a certain amount of players for a guy like Fox. Now, you thought, hey, you got Fox and you have Wembanyama. Maybe 2 years from now, finish the season strong with them this year. And then next year, you go all out and you try to build this team around these two players. Now you have to worry. Yeah, Fox wanted to go to the Spurs because he wanted to play for Popovich. Well, guess what? Popovich might not be there anymore. He might retire because of his injury, his situation with his stroke. And I want to get into the Popovich thing too in a second. But you would have to worry now as an organization because you put in all your eggs in these baskets in the Aaron Fox move and Wembanyama being drafted as high as he was. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't have been drafted. This guy is a phenomenal player, averaging 24, 11, and 3 and 3.8 blocks. He's a phenomenal player. If I was an organization, I was running this organization, I would be worried if I was this organization after the blood clot thing. Now, as far as the Popovich story, I'm going to tell you guys this right now, and I'm going to get into this because we have a new segment called Dial It Up, and I have something to get into the Popovich thing. So I'm not going to throw it under the bus because I want to use this for the segment. I would say that Greg Popovich's career as the Spurs head coach is over. When you hear that he is out for the rest of the season and he had a stroke, this only tells me that now that Wembanyama is out, he's going to sit out for the rest of the season. This would piss off a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who wanted to be traded. Sacramento is a borderline playoff team right now, as far as I'm concerned, over there in the Western Conference. Borderline. I don't know if they make it, but they're a borderline playoff team. Now De'Aaron Fox is going to a team that's 21 and 27. No more Wembanyama. How bad is this team going to be? Well, everybody's going to say, well, they're going to get a high draft pick. They'll get a top 10 pick, and they could build around De'Aaron Fox and Wembanyama and whoever they bring in at number 5 or number 6 or wherever they're drafting. To me, the fact that Greg Popovich might be done as the head coach over there with the Spurs tells me that where do they go when it comes to that coaching position? And De'Aaron Fox wanting to go there because of Greg Popovich tells me that, is he going to be happy? Is he going to sign that extension? That's the thing. Did he sign the extension yet? Was it signed? No. It wasn't signed. So if De'Aaron Fox hasn't signed yet, why would he sign if Wembanyama is going to have injuries and he wanted to go there to win a title over there with the Spurs with Greg Popovich? And by the way, what has Greg Popovich won since Tim Duncan's retirement? Nothing. So I'm sitting here right now. If I was a Spurs fan, I would be upset because they didn't get that extension with De'Aaron Fox now. Greg Popovich could be out. Wembanyama could be out for a significant amount of time. Nobody knows about blood clots. You don't know if he'll be back next year. You don't know.
They can last forever. Like it sucks. So, and we've seen it with a lot of athletes where you just don't know if they're going to come back or not.
100%, Joba. I agree with you totally. If I was De'Aaron Fox right now, I'm not signing that extension. I'm going to free agency. There is no way I'm going to be sitting pat knowing that there's no guarantees with Wembanyama and there's no guarantees with Greg Popovich. So if I was him, I would absolutely go to free agency, and who gives me the most money. Even though we can get the most money from the Spurs, I still think go to free agency and see what's offered to you in the open market.
Yeah, and also you look at Popovich when it comes to awareness of him, like in the real world too, or awareness of the players in the real world. Like he's a human before he's a coach, and I think he's going to take that into account as well. And basketball, you don't see it as much like you do in football, where you sometimes see the coaches coach from the booth. They'll call plays from the booth. Like I don't think you have that same kind of effect in basketball, which could have changed his entire coaching style too. The way he likes to be assertive, he likes to especially on defense. If you botch anything on defense, he's screaming at you. And him now suffering a stroke, there's going to be conditions that go by that. Will he want to coach that same kind of way? Will he adjust if he wants to keep coaching? Will be another question. He already obviously stepped away from Team USA. Coach K's doing that now, and maybe the NBA is another step for him. Or again, he's going to have to change his whole coaching style. As far as Wemby, yeah, it's definitely scary. Java, you were mentioning it too. Like those blood clots might not go away. I don't know if we've seen it in a player like this big either. I know Scoops in our private chats messaging Chris Bosh, but that was towards the end of his career, and Wemby's even he's 5 inches higher than he is. So.
Chris Bosh was 32 years old or 33 years old when he had blood clots, and Wembanyama is 21 or 20 years old. I mean, that's a huge difference. This guy is he hasn't even come close to his prime. You're in your prime at 26, 27. That's 5 years, 6 years from now. And this guy already has blood clots. It's a shame. It really is. I'm not saying I'm hoping bad for him, but this is a bad sign. This is not a good sign when you hear blood clots.
Yeah, somebody that young, somebody that tall with that kind of body type, we haven't seen the effects like this because again, it's a very rare circumstance as it is. Like most people in the world, not even just athletes, most people in the world are not 7'3" and that type of body type as it is. So, and a lot of the boosts that do have that kind of height is they're in countries that aren't as developed medically speaking. So I think that dealing with that, like you're dealing with the circumstance. I mean, he's French, so they got the money, but like they're dealing with circumstances where they're not going to know right away. And I think for that reason, you do have to be concerned both for his life and for his career going forward as this generational talent he's supposed to be.
Well, no, and that's the tough part too. And and Fish brings up David Conan. He kind of had he had an auxiliary aneurysm in his but then they removed like the vein out of his thigh and then like did some other stuff, and you just don't know how it's going to react. And in our thread with Bad Thoughts, I think he's right in the aspect that they're still going to get guys to play with Wemby just because of what he is. But it's you really don't know this too, and close to home too. We had obviously a great college football player in Tommy Frazier, but he had blood clots in his calves and he could have played at the next level, but they kept coming back, and it kept affecting him in ways where you just don't know the long term if you have this already. And especially, Errol, you bring up a great point where you talk about being a 22-year-old kid where and usually these type of things happen more in the legs than necessarily your upper extremities. And obviously none of us are doctors. We don't know, but you've kind of seen how there's been a little bit of repercussions on these certain things. And, at the end of the day, yeah, is he a phenomenal athlete? He's a generational talent. Yeah. But more so he's a human being, he's a son, he's a brother, and those things are more important. And sometimes with sports and being these guys that they are, sometimes that gets kind of put on the back burner, which it shouldn't, because these are the conversations that we have. But also it's a very valid conversation. Be like, how is this going to affect his career moving forward? And, it sucks to say that for somebody that, is such a generational talent and, has worked his butt off and has been at the highest level since, he's been a teenager, really. So it's really tough to even try to predict kind of what's going to happen and how they're going to move forward with the organization and what they, are trying to build around Wemby. And, at the end of the day, I really honestly think that it's where you got to look out for him first and foremost, because if you put the sport ahead of him as health and a human, then I think you can get lost a little bit. And that's obviously my just personal opinion and seeing things like that. So it's going to be kind of hard to navigate that aspect of it. And if, hopefully, fingers crossed for him and his family and all of his well-being, that, this is kind of a one and done thing, but we've seen this kind of linger on in people's careers. So that's just hard to think about and how you're going to navigate through the whole realm of what this is going to be through his career.
Yes.
Hi, Fish.
All right. So, guys, look, we have one of the guys who is going to be one of the greatest players in the league. First team All-NBA defense his first year, rookie of the year. He was on his way to probably be either a first or second team All-NBA player this year, probably second team at center. Definitely all defensive player, probably defensive player of the year. Someone was mentioning it to me. I don't know if it was one of you guys or a friend of mine that put down a bet that it was at like minus 3,500 that they'll get Wemby at a defensive player of the year. And and they put like 10 grand on it. And like 5 minutes later, the news came out that he was out for the season, because it was such a sure bet that Wemby was going to be defensive player of the year before this happened. Who knows what's going to happen? You said it, Errol. Yao Ming had the foot problem. He was so big, he never really healed. Wemby's a really nice knee bender. If you watch him athletically, he gets lower to the ground. He seems to be a little bit more nimble than Yao was. Yao was a little bit more of a statue, but was great at what he did. It was a different game back then. With playing like that. Today you can't. And Wemby does have the body for today's game, but you worry when you're that tall and that lanky, someone just lands on you wrong and that leg is going to snap.
Okay, so you brought up the lengthiness and very nimble or whatever the hell you were using, but guess what? Mitchell Robinson was that too, and Mitchell Robinson's nowhere close to the size of Wembanyama. When Mitchell Robinson came into the league, he was thin, he was very nimble, and he had the jumping ability. But what has Mitch dealt with over the last couple of years? Injuries with his leg, his ankle, his calf, and this guy. I remember he put on some weight, and Wembanyama is expected to put on more weight on his body. If he wants to last in the NBA, he's going to have to put weight on, just like Mitch. And this guy's 7'5". If he puts on 30 pounds of muscle, 30 pounds, and usually that's what happens as you get older. Jobby, you know this. As you get older, you get stronger, you get bigger, you start working out your weight. It happens. So that would worry me right now that this guy is not even close to his prime, and he already has blood clots, and he hasn't even gone through that major injury with his ankles or his calf or his knee. This would worry me. Now I'm reading all these different comments, especially this guy, Bad Thought Studio. I don't know who he is, but thanks for joining us, Bad. And you're saying people are going to want to go and play over there. If I was a superstar player and I see that this kid has blood clots, and I know that Coach Popovich might not be back, the questions here lie. Why would I go there when I can go and play for the Lakers and Luka Doncic? Why would I go there when I could go and play with, Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson? There are other teams. How about the Rockets right now? How young they are and how talented they are. Why would I go there when I know I can go to another team and have a better chance of winning, when I know I'm not sure about Wembanyama's health and moving forward where Greg Popovich is going to be? And he's 76. That's the only reason why I'm saying this. This is worrisome if I was a player that wants to go and play for the Spurs.
I think it does. I think it does change the trajectory a little bit of the organization, and you guys can agree with me if I'm wrong, because you're having a staple in Pop and what he's done and what he's meant for that organization, and bringing in Wemby and having a guy like Pop and having the guys around him that he has on his staff and everything. But I think it does a little bit change the trajectory. I don't know if it changes it completely, honestly. I don't think it changes because you really don't know kind of what's going to happen. But I do think there might be a little bit second thoughts a little bit maybe in the trajectory of kind of how they're going. So yeah, I don't know if it's going to change it completely.
If I was the Aaron Fox, I'm not signing that contract. If I was him, I would not sign that contract. I would go to free agency and see what's out there. I would worry right now if I was De'Aaron Fox, because the first thing he said, I get to play for Coach Popovich, a champion, a 5-time champion, one of the greatest of all time in his eyes. I don't think he is, but in his eyes. And then watching Wembanyama in the same aspect of the same season, he goes down for the rest of the season with blood clots. When blood clots are significant, if I was De'Aaron Fox, I'm not signing that. I'm telling you, I'm all about winning. That's why he didn't want to stay in Sacramento. They weren't about winning. Are the Spurs really all about winning right now? With Greg Popovich saying that he's uncertain where his career is going and if he's even coming back? I mean, how about you, Nick? What are your thoughts to it?
I mean, I'm up in the air, dude. I think the guy's a great player.
No question.
I obviously. And just reading through the comments, Bad Thoughts Studio also, the risk of him staying healthy for a year is worth it because of his generational talent. We've never seen someone like this ever in the NBA. I mean, but he's not playing, right? The best ability is availability, right? So if he's not playing, you don't know what you're going to get out of him. And if he can't stay healthy for a year, are you going to be able to, is that ship going to sail, or what's the deal? And then, like you said, Popovich is out. It's going to be a completely different dynamic to the Spurs, and really, I mean, sadly, I mean, we're seeing blood clots now more common in a lot of different sports, not just the NBA, but we've seen it in soccer, we've seen it in football as well. So, hopefully, the medical industry field, whatever, can get him back on the court as soon as possible. And obviously, we want him to be healthy. But as far as a player on another team wanting to sign there, it would be questionable for me. Because obviously, yeah, you want to be around greatness and you want to learn from him. Even if he isn't playing, you still could learn a lot from him while he's on the bench. But at the same time, you want to win. And if he isn't playing, chances of you winning are not as good.
But Goody, he's also a kid. What are you going to learn from a kid? The kid's still learning. You know,
It doesn't. You can learn something from everybody. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're not in the right room.
All right, you're right. Okay, so you have a veteran player like Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Buckets becomes, and he's not. He just signed a 3-year deal with the Golden State Warriors. But let's say he became a free agent. He says, "I want to go and play with Wembanyama." All right, fine. He goes to He goes and plays, and he signs with the Spurs. What is Jimmy Buckets going to learn from a 20-year-old kid that's still trying to figure out who he is as an NBA player? And I understand you can learn something from everybody. He's still a kid. And if I was him, and I was Wembanyama right now, a person that you saw what he did in the All-Star game. You saw how much he wanted his team to play defense and stuff like that. It's worrisome that the last game he played as an NBA player was an All-Star game. That would worry me too. I mean, the NBA is trying to figure out how to protect their players and make sure that the All-Star game's more interesting and more fun to watch. And your best young player goes down in an All-Star game. So, I mean, that's worrisome too. That's something that if I'm looking at the game and listen, bad thoughts, you're absolutely right. You want to go over there. If you're a player right now, you can make millions and millions of dollars wherever you go. Would you rather go there, or would you want to go to, let's say, if there's money available, to the Knicks and play with Karl Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby and Jalen Brunson? I mean, come on. Let's be honest here. How about the Greek?
And you're in New York.
Yeah. How about if the Greek Freak gets traded to OKC next year? How about, would you want to go and play with the Greek Freak and Shai and Williams, or you want to go over there and hope that Popovich comes back and Wembanyama is 100% healthy? To me, if I was De'Aaron Fox, I'm not signing that contract. I'm just, if I was a free agent that wants to win, and he's going to get money no matter where he goes. He's not going to get as much, but he's going to make money. I'm not signing with the Spurs. That's just my opinion. That's my take on it. So,
well, you're entitled to that, right? Like that's your opinion. But we'll see what happens when the time comes, and if the pen meets the paper, and
it's all about money, as we all know.
100%. Well, unfortunately that's how the world operates. It's all about the dollar. And so,
all right, ladies and gentlemen. As we do this every single week, we've got the Save Your Tears recap.
All right, let me ask you this, Brett. Do you want to risk $28,000?
My mama didn't raise no fool, Pat.
That's about as painful as a bankrupt gets.
No, God, please, no, no, no. I'm not crying in baseball.
Now, it's time for Save Your Tears.
All right, everybody, welcome to the results edition of Save Your Tears. If you remember from last week, we had a four-team grouping of the Knicks, the Spurs, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Orlando Magic to pick from. Everyone picks a $5, $4, $3, $2, and $1 player from that mix to make a $15 salary cap team. So we picked the teams, and today the results are in, and we have a first-time winner in his first time playing. Yes, it is the young man himself, the boy, Nick Goody, with a big win with 427.9 points. Coming in second was Joba at 409.7, followed by Owen, who was on vacation, still was able to get a bronze medal, 407.9. Then followed by Speedy, Errol, and myself in dead last for picking Wemby, who we just talked about.
I also picked
missed
Portis.
all of his games. Yeah, but Portis was a $2 guy. Wemby was with Wemby. If Wemby played, I win. That's what I say. But I came in dead last. And again, the way this works is the winner of the game, Nick Goody, is now going to be showered. I don't know.
Shower me, boys. Shower me.
So last place goes first. Speedy, if you have any kind of romantic music, I think that's what we're going to use next time for the chorus of compliments. If you have any just queued up, go right for it. But if not, just imagine that it's playing, Nick, because
just
what
like
a performance by you, Nick Goody, on this first ever a chance. It was really epic. You decided to go all Orlando Magic.
Weird.
And they brought you the title. I don't think it's going to happen in real life, but what a great job picking Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. And your MVP, not Durant's mom, Goga Bitadze. Up next is Errol with his compliment chorus.
Oh, man, that beard is one interesting thing. But hey, listen, you don't know much about basketball, but everybody has their luck. But congratulations on that friendly win. So there you go.
All right, Speedy, you're up next.
I said in New Orleans, you were the culinary master, the recommendation of all the great restaurants, and now you're the best thing to happen in Louisiana for basketball.
Wow. I appreciate that.
Random sexual thing.
We'll have Owen write you a sweet letter on a postcard from wherever he is right now.
Never heard of the term before.
Hopefully he's not drowning in his swim up pool out of his room. I haven't even talked to him. He texted me last night and he's like, I think I'm dead. I was like, you alive? He's like, I don't think so. I go, isn't that what vacation and weddings are for, I guess? So
finally, Jabba.
Goody, I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to be like, you know what? Yeah, the Magic picks, we're all giving you, your hard time for that. But, sometimes you trust your heart. Like my dad always said, when the big head gets little, the little head gets big. But you didn't let that happen. You didn't let that happen.
Disturbing behavior.
Those picks were made with my mind, my heart, and my balls, and I just went with it, man.
Yep.
I'll give you that one.
I'll give you that. You took your bag of balls and you laid them on the line, and there you go, bro.
I have zero interest in putting balls into a knot.
And on that note, it has been another great edition of Save Your Tears.
Fish, where's my compliment?
I went first.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah, he was last.
Oh,
so he went first.
I was playing the violin over here. I just completely.
Like my dad always say, the world's smallest violin plays my heart bleeds for you.
No, that is true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first time show and segment, as we call this one, Dial It Up.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled hot mix to bring you important news, folks.
We got a big broadcast to do here. We're about to dial it up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a new segment. We're going to have a lot of fun with this, and we're going to get everybody involved with Dial It Up. Bring Scoops in, or Mr. Poops. All right, so I have a couple of stories I want to get into. And Speedy, you get the music, so we got something. Let's get into the first story, because I definitely want to get into this. Greg Popovich. That was a big story, and I want to get into the numbers, and I brought it. It was brought to my attention that Greg Popovich might never coach again in the NBA, as he stepped down for the rest of the season. All-time leader in the NBA with NBA wins, five-time NBA champion, one-time Olympic gold medalist, three-time coach of the year, 17-time coach of the month, and led the Spurs to 22 postseasons. Him stepping down could be very interesting. My question here, and my attack here, is why does everybody say he's the greatest coach of all time? I don't care how many wins he has. I don't care that he won 5 championships. Let's look at the last, 10 years. And the last time he won a championship was Tim Duncan. How long ago was that? I mean, this guy hasn't won a championship since Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Kawhi Leonard, who was in the prime of his career. To me, as good as Greg Popovich numbers show you that he is, what has he won? He hasn't won anything. He hasn't won anything by himself, okay? Besides with the championship players that he has. It took him. Look at the players that he brought in over the years, over the last couple of years, and look at how many championships have they won. How many postseason appearances has the Spurs had in the last 5 seasons? Not many. That tells me one thing. As good of a coach as he is, look at Pat Riley. Look at where Pat Riley has gone. He went from one team, from the Lakers, won a couple of championships. Then he went to the Knicks, took the Knicks almost every single year to the playoffs with the New York Knicks and Patrick Ewing, Anthony Mason, and Charles Oakley. Then he went to Miami and he actually was the GM and then took over for Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal and won a title over there. Everywhere Pat Riley took over for that team, he won. I mean, honest to God, I can't even put him in that. How about Phil Jackson? Phil Jackson went to the Bulls. He won how many titles over there with the Bulls? 6? And then he goes over to the Lakers. And how many championships did he win with the Lakers? So to me, when you're saying Greg Popovich is the greatest coach of all time, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, those are just 2 guys. There's so many other guys that I could pinpoint and say that are better than Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich has not seen the playoffs in how many years, Speedy? It's got to be over 4 or 5 years. It's been a long time since the Spurs have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, again, it's a tough way, obviously, when you can't get the free agency. It's a player-driven league, like we all say. Like,
if you're a great coach, you're still going to get him there.
Yeah, and again, he's a lot of his
Kenny Atkinson took the Nets. Look at them. They had nobody.
Yep, and I think a lot of his concepts are now being used a lot more to these more athletic, younger teams that just the Spurs have not been able to just develop as much of this young talent. And a lot of these concepts, especially with the passing concepts, the ball movement concepts that we've seen the Spurs specialize in, have really gotten to these other teams. The Warriors kind of accelerated a little further with the 3-point game, and I think a lot of those concepts coming from Steve Kerr learning from Greg Popovich, and bringing it on to these other coaches that are even better than even Steve Kerr is right now. So yeah, it's tough for Popovich has been going through, and like I was saying before, like he's going to probably have to do it at a much level, which could affect his coaching altogether.
No, and I think you're right. I think it's the longevity of what he's done, and I obviously have said that before on certain topics that we've talked about. But just as Speedy said, it's like now they're taking, certain aspects of what he's done and the thing he's done. You look at the triangle offense with Phil Jackson. You look at other things that they've taken from these coaches, and I think maybe not the best, but he's definitely in the conversation. And I think that's probably why there is some legs with him saying that and what he's done. Yeah, it's been a minute since he's won, and we all kind of relate to winning as being at the pinnacle or the Mount Rushmore, however you want to say it. But I think there's just what he's done and kind of how he's done it, and how people have used some of his dimensions and coaching philosophies and how he's handled things. I think that's why he's definitely in the conversation.
Spurs haven't been in the playoffs since before the pandemic. That's how long it's been, Errol. I looked it up. They've been a lottery team ever since the pandemic. So it's been about 5 years. And on top of that, the last title was 2014. Now, I got a positive and negative in favor of Popovich as a great coach. No one was beating those Warriors teams. We know that, right? And they had to go through them every one of those years in the second half of the 2010s. So they weren't getting through there. And there were some other teams that in the way as well. So I want to give them a slight pass on that, because they did win all those titles and they were there every year, and they did beat LeBron in 2014. So on that stacked Heat team. So that you got to give him credit for that. But at the same time, he's also the guy that took Tim Duncan out on the famous Ray Allen 3-pointer for whatever reason, because I guess he thought there was a better rebounder than Tim Duncan for that play. I still, no one really understands why he made that move, and it did cost them that series. So I do think there's a little bit to be said about Popovich not being the best of all time, but to say he's not one of the best of all time, I think he's clearly one of those guys who is an upper echelon coach. He's got the titles. Everyone talks about how he revolutionized the motion offense away from the triangle, which was everything. He kind of made a new version of it. You got to give the guy credit. And he trains Steve Kerr, who then eventually had that team that he couldn't beat.
So, don't get me started with Steve Kerr.
The offense that they ran with Harrison Barnes that first year was the Spurs offense. Let's face it, that's what it was. And
it was also the triangle offense of Phil Jackson too.
No, Phil Jackson's offense is outdated. What they did is they took the Phil Jackson stuff and added more motion, and they didn't make it so it was forced to go across the court as much as it was in the triangle. So it was a little bit different to add, because triangle is really not for the 3-point line. So this was a little bit more of the new version of it. So it was like he kind of took it to the next step, like how Kobe took, stuff Jordan was doing to the next step. You got to give Pop that kind of credit, but he still is that guy that screwed up that finals with Tim Duncan taking him out.
I don't think he's a top 5 coach of all time.
That's close. That's questionable. He's won 5 NBA championships.
I can name a bunch of guys.
Well, I think 1 and 2. they're interchangeable with Phil Jackson and Pop. 5 NBA championships for Popovich, 4 NBA All-Star Game head coaches, 3-time NBA Coach of the Year. And that would be, if he's considered number 1 and Phil Jackson's number 2, the only thing that's in it that Phil has over him is the 11-time NBA championships. And he has 4 NBA All-Star coaches and 1 Coach of the Year. So
Phil Jackson, Pat Riley didn't have to wait 5 years to make the playoffs, and Popovich did. And I don't care what anybody says. That's what I look at. I look at you. You could say whatever you want, and you can put up numbers and stuff like that. He's such a great coach. I seen Kenny Atkinson take the Nets, that bad Nets team, all the way to the playoffs with nobody. There's no excuse, especially how basketball's up and down every year. So, and injuries do come into play.
Look at Kenny now, though. Kenny's killing it with the Cavs.
Yeah.
That guy knows how to coach some basketball. They should have never gave up on him. Man.
Absolutely. And by the way, everybody gives Steve Kerr all the credit. It's Kenny Atkinson. As we've heard Steph Curry come out, he helped the longevity of his career. And one of the guys that he pointed out that helped him with his longevity and his transition as an older player was Kenny Atkinson, by the way. So everybody keeps talking about Steve Kerr. That guy is so overrated.
He's also, former
give me
player.
a break, Steve Kerr. Oh.
Got a lot of rings.
All right. Poops, what do you think?
Popovich did have Tim Duncan, arguably the greatest athletic big of all time. Ginobili as one of the best six-man.
He was the best six-man of all time.
Prime Tony Parker, Kawhi Leonard. He had himself a squad, but coaching for 30 years and those 20-plus postseason appearances, it's hard to believe that Popovich isn't there holding the reins, that they're still going to be as successful as they are. So
I disagree. Well, you have Tim Duncan. Look at what Tim Duncan has. And when Tim Duncan was drafted out magically from 10 to 1 or 8 to 1, where they were supposed to be drafted, they got the number 1 pick. I know everybody wants to pat Popovich on the back. Like he was such a great coach. I'm not saying he was bad, but the top 5, I'm sorry, 5 years in a row not making the playoffs, no matter what, rebuilding or not, a great coach doesn't miss 5 years in a row to the playoffs. I'm not saying he's not great. I mean, greatest coach of all time. It doesn't miss 5 years in a row. That's just what I'm saying. I think he's great, and I think he's one of the best. I just don't think he's the top 5. That's just my argument here. All right. Here's another story. I don't know if anybody's watched The Court of Gold. It was an interesting documentary, very intriguing, but we mentioned Steve Kerr, and you're one of those guys that, Goody, I think you said that you would put him up there with one of the top coaches of all time. Here's the thing, Greg Popovich, Coach K, there was different people that said the only person that could have gotten this team to win was Steve Kerr. Okay. What happened in the World Championships the year before when they had Jalen Brunson and all those other guys? Who was coaching that team? Steve Kerr. Why did he fall short in that? Okay. Now, Steve Kerr took over. Yes, he had KD. Yes, he had LeBron. Yes, he had Steph Curry. To me, he needs great players to win a championship. I think if Popovich run that team, if Coach K coached that team, if any one of these big-time coaches were coaching that team, they would have won that title. You have all these great players, arguably the greatest assembled. I don't think it was Steve Kerr. What makes Steve Kerr so great? He had Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green in the prime, Klay Thompson, one of the greatest shooters of all time. Give me a break. I mean, Mark Jackson should have won those titles. They stole that from him. I think Mark Jackson could have coached those teams. He helped them develop. So I think Steve Kerr is another coach that is highly overrated by the Team USA and United States basketball.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think any Olympic team is going to, especially with the amount of talent the U.S. has, I don't think it's really going to be interchangeable who the coaches is. Like if Steve Kerr goes to, say, win it with Canada or something and wins a gold medal, maybe you're thinking he might have more influence on that, or goes to win one with one of these European nations like that aren't Spain or France, pretty much any other European nation. Like, okay, fine. Yeah, I think anyone, as long as they kept the toxicity out of that from getting the egos too much in the way, would have won a gold medal. And again, they almost didn't. Like Curry had this dagger like you're showing fish, but this game was very close throughout, and a young France team that could be up and coming.
I mean, the biggest thing is that Good coaches win, right? But they also know how to deal with egos and stuff that's behind the scenes that not a lot of people, not a lot of fans understand. And when you have a ton of egos in the locker room and being able to navigate that as a coach or a manager or whatever for whatever sport you're playing and be able to get everybody pulling the same end of the rope, that's regardless of the winning and losing at that point, like being able to navigate that and put the product out there and then win, like that's a sign of a good coach. It's multiple times. That's the side of professional sports that people don't see. You see the flashing lights, you see the players, you see the stars, you see them go out and do their thing. But when they're done, if they're shitbags in the locker room, like it's up to the manager, it's up to the coach to go in there and kind of steer the ship in the direction that they want. And maybe Steve Kerr being a former player and having some pedigree, like maybe that's what he brings that a lot of people don't see. And that's why players enjoy, working with him and playing for him.
I think that's a great point, though. Sorry, Fish. I think that's a great point, too, because when you get that many, and let's just call it what it is, it's egos and talent and all the other stuff. And you look at a manager or a head coach, they're obviously called different things in different sports. But what it really is, you're a manager. You're managing all of these guys because really at the end of the day, they're literally basically managing all of these personalities, talent, and putting it in the right situation. And there's some that are really good at it. There's some that aren't. And I think that's a huge aspect, Goody. And I think that's a lot of what they don't see because everybody sees when the lights are on. And when they turn the TV on, they see all their stuff. But, when it's behind closed doors and it's like, hey, we got workouts here. You're late. You're doing this. And we've all seen the documentaries of the Bulls and stuff. And, like with Rodman and certain other people that we can touch on. But I think it's just them managing, and what makes them great is not only winning, but having all these types of talents and personalities and being able to let them mesh. And like you said, Goody, is pull on the same rope. Let's not pull on each side of it, like, because I want to go here and you want to go there. Let's pull on it together and let's win that tug of war. And I think that's what these great managers, coaches, whatever it may be, on how they become in that conversation. Not saying that they're the greatest, but I think that's why they're in the conversations, because they're able to do that.
I don't think anyone thinks like Dan Campbell is this master X's and O's statistician. You know what I mean? We talk about in the NFL. Why do people love him? Well, they love him because he's about the bigger things and the finer details. And that's why people play hard for him. He pays attention to everyone off the field. He has everyone pulling in the same direction. I've always, when I was coaching, I had some times where I was a head coach and I've had times where I was assistant, way more relaxing to be an assistant or position coach than a head coach. The head coaches have so much to do. I mean, at the youth level, it's crazy with the parents' numbers and all the stuff you got to deal with. But as a head coach, and just like thinking about it, but as you know, like you look at a guy that's like you were mentioning Kenny Atkinson before. Well, everyone knew he was a great X's and O's guy. Well, Kenny Atkinson might not have been a great overseer of the entire program guy until he learned from a guy like perhaps Steve Kerr, who maybe not the greatest X's and O's guys like you're saying, but has learned how to manage people in a way that maybe Pat Riley learned how to manage people when he was going strong, the way Pop managed people for over the years. And that's probably why he's been successful.
We call that having feel in the biz.
And think about Chuck Daly too, and what he did with the Pistons.
Yes, for sure. And that's what you like watching. You like watching winning teams and winning programs. And even though it's probably his assistants drawing up the really cool plays, just like you see, these assistants get hired to become head coaches in the NFL. You saw Kellen Moore get hired. Well, Sirianni gets all the credit, right? Sirianni is going to get most of it from the public. We know behind the scenes that everyone played a really important part, but it's those guys, even though they're not the ones doing all the little things, they're the ones looking at all the details.
Kenny Atkinson did not need Steve Kerr to figure that out. He played.
And why did he get fired from the Nets?
Why did he get? Because he had Kyrie Irving dealing. He had to deal with that.
Well, he couldn't manage him at all.
He couldn't manage it. You can't manage an idiot like that.
Kyrie Irving forgot his first grade education and thought the earth was flat while he was there.
Atkinson's fault.
Well, that's still up for debate.
Kenny should have figured it out.
Oh, stop. Kenny Atkinson figured it out without Kyrie Irving there.
You look over the horizon, the sun bends.
Crappy team to the playoffs.
The Vikings figured that out
with a crappy team. You're going to tell me he helped Jeremy Lin,
Leif Erikson,
these other guys. He was under great coaching for years. He came from the Pat Riley, bracket.
Vasco da Gama.
Stop. If you're going to tell me Steve Kerr helped Kenny Atkinson figure it out, that's
I
ridiculous.
guarantee you Kenny Atkinson would tell you
No,
that
he
he
didn't.
did. I guarantee you.
I bet you he
He's
would
gonna
too.
say
That he was a great influence
he's
on
gonna say
him,
that.
and he taught him so many things
disagree.
about basketball that
disagree.
he would have never thought of.
I disagree.
Get Kenny
Atkinson
on the
was a
show.
winner
Let's
without
ask
him. He was a winner.
If Adam
without him.
Gase was a good manager of people as opposed to good at X's and O's, he would still be the Jets head coach.
I disagree.
But he was terrible at managing people, maybe one of the worst ever.
Kenny Atkinson was great. Ask Jeremy Lin. Ask any of the point guards that have worked with him and said that he helped their careers. Jeremy Lin wouldn't have had a career without Kenny Atkinson.
He helped their careers off, bro. It's about managing people. That's where you learn from other people who have been there and done that.
He was managing the Nets fine until Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and James Harden got there. Stop. It was honestly, I blame Marks for that. Sean Marks made the mistake bringing Kyrie Irving in. So that had nothing to do with Kenny Atkinson. That was everything to do with the ownership and the executives and the GM running that organization. And Kenny Atkinson was a good manager, a good coach before that. So I disagree. Go ahead, Scoops.
Yeah, Kenny Atkinson definitely is the one to blame in all that. I mean, I don't know what the Nets front office was thinking, trying to get a second big three, and I don't know what they were thinking. But whole point is, as far as Steve Kerr goes, he was definitely handing himself a team. And I agree with you, Errol. I mean, you look at the Warriors dynasty roster, this team was taking no hostages. And any coach easily would have had the same success. Now, I don't think Kerr is like easily the horrible. I don't think he's a horrible.
I didn't say he was
head coach.
horrible.
No, I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying I don't think he's a horrible head coach. He definitely, like Fish mentioned too, he definitely has picked up a thing or two in learning his management in the sense of, which is why also he hasn't been canned. I mean, even after that time period, after the whole dynasty run and in between that time period when they won in 2022, I wouldn't say he definitely has learned how to be a good coach, just not the best head coach.
And by the way, I just want to mention a coach right now that everybody thought was so great, Doc Rivers. He gets a Fab 3 over there, Fab 4, Rondo, Garnett, Pierce, and Ray Allen. They win one championship over there. If you put great players together that work well together, you don't need to be a great coach. Ask Doc Rivers, who's gone everywhere else and failed. So please, I don't want to hear about, Steve Kerr's a great judge of work with men. He knows how to coach. Give me a break.
He went to the finals 3 years in a row, though.
I could have coached that team with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson in their primes of their career. Please don't tell me about coaching.
It was all about Ubuntu to get
I'll
the
give you Ubuntu.
Celtics
I'll give you
there.
a Ubuntu. I'll
Don't
give
you
you a
remember?
Ubuntu in the ass. You're nuts. You're out of your crazy. You're crazy. All right, the final story of Dial It Up is pretty simple, and we're going to get into baseball and the salary cap situation. There are stories coming out that a lot of different players have said that maybe there should be a salary cap because of the deferred situation that the Dodgers are bringing to the table. I know it's been around a long time, Goody and Joba. I know every team could do it, but people are upset about this because a lot of people believe, especially small market teams and organizations believe, that the Dodgers are buying championships and championships and championships. And now 2026 is around the corner. The new CBA, should there be a salary cap in baseball? Now, I know what you guys are going to say. The players union are not going to allow it. They're not going to accept that. But to me, you have to look at the situation for what it is. It's worked in basketball. It's worked in hockey. It's worked in football. Why isn't it not going to work in baseball? It should. It should open up the floodgates to open up the small market teams to win championships. Actually study who you're drafting, even though it's not as easy when it comes to baseball because there's like 17 rounds in baseball. I mean, it's a completely different, baseball is completely different. It used to be like 30 or 40 rounds.
No, there's 50.
50. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike Piazza was drafted in the 20s or 30s or whatever.
No, he was like the
49th.
No, it was
49th.
like
All right.
55th, I think.
Because of Tony La Russa, whatever. Not Tony La Russa, Tommy Lasorda. That's right. From the Dodgers. I'm sorry. But I think there should be something. I think baseball should investigate and look into this. Now, obviously, I'm not a former baseball player, but I have to look at the small market teams that are never going to get over the hump if this continues to happen. You got this kid Witt. he's going to become a free agent. And what is he going to go to the Dodgers for $750 million of deferred money? I mean, this doesn't help. I know you're going to bring up the Yankees, and everybody's going to say, you're a Yankee fan. That's why you say it. No, I disagree. I think the Yankees built around a core of players. Yes, they spent money at times. Did the Yankees really win besides 1 year in 2009? Joba, you know this, when they went after Teixeira, CC Sabathia, and Burnett. They didn't win anything after that. And during the time that they
just for the record, Bobby Witt signed 11-year, $288
I'm just
million
saying,
deal, so he ain't going to be a free agency.
I got
for a
it.
while.
I got it. I understand that. I'm just saying. Does this help baseball? I think that baseball should look into this. I think there should be a salary cap. I think there has to be something that capped out. And this deferred money, there has to be something set in stone in the CBA to kind of clean this deferred money situation up. I don't think it's helping baseball.
What's interesting is the dynamics of the baseball contracts are a lot longer. Like you see hockey contracts usually max out at 8 years. Sometimes you'll get a player that gets 9. Football maxes out at about 7. And that's mainly only a quarterback or possibly a kicker. And in basketball, there's restrictions. Like the max is a 5-year, $345. We were talking about that with Luka Doncic a few weeks ago.
And there's bird rights.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of a difference with baseball where you're getting all these 10+ year contracts where that salary cap that could potentially increase and fluctuate. How would that impact a potential contract like that? I think makes it very tough to tell. The other thing that is the other extreme, though, is the salary floors that these teams are not spending. Like there's too many teams that are the other extreme. And I think that's also going to play into it. There's some level of balance. I think in any sport, like I think most teams that win championships are usually in the top half of the payroll.
But what are you saying? Should baseball clean this up?
I think I'm not against them trying it, but I don't think it's going to make a drastic difference because I think most teams are still top 12 in salary cap anyway. I think most teams still have a good development process. Like the Braves, like we talked about the Braves, like they'll pay their players early and they're still top 12 in payroll at the same time.
That's not going to happen anymore, the way the money and where these players are getting this.
So I think there's still enough of a balance with the way that they still could happen in baseball. Is a sport that does not have as much controllable aspects compared to other sports like basketball, where the players can really control the league.
Yeah, and I think it's two different concepts, and how we've talked about how it is in the NBA a player-driven aspect, but also too with baseball and how our union has fought for everything for as long as it has. And as we talked when we had Ken Rosenthal on, and we asked about that, and somebody of that nature and saying, yeah, it's talked about, but don't think it's ever going to happen. First of all, I don't think the players are going to let it happen. I don't think Tony Clark will let it happen as a player. And, now having him as the head of our union and the understanding of what guys have fought for in getting these contracts. And I get where the deferred money is a little bit different, but I loved how we got a little bit of breakdown of how the deferred money works and that they still have to fund the deferred money, and it's not just like, hey, we're paying it all at once, and we have to show that they're actually doing that. I just don't think it'll ever happen. But also, too, Speedy, you make a great point. Brewers didn't even spend $1 million on anything this offseason. So when it comes to
$8 million in the last 2 years.
Yeah. And so when you go to these teams, and that's where now as you're above the luxury tax and whatever, now that gets divvied up into all these other teams. So what makes it the year that the Marlins hadn't spent over, I don't even think it was $8 million in like 3 years in free agency or anything. And then they ended up signing Reyes and Burley that year for like almost $100 million between the two, was the first time that, because they were basically forced upon having to spend that money. So I just don't think there will ever be a cap per se, because it's just our union won't allow it. They're going to try and fight for it. I just don't think it'll ever happen because of the longevity of what our union has created to protect our players, to make sure that they get this money. That's why a guy that signs a big contract, everybody behind him is like, thank you. Why are a lot of guys waiting sometimes to sign free agent contracts? Because they want to see what happens, and they're allowed to do that. So that's why I just don't think it'll ever happen.
Every team can play within the boundaries and the rules that have been laid out. And so for the smaller market teams that aren't doing it, that's on them. But for the bigger market teams that are doing it, good, go for it. It helps the team. It helps baseball. Like, obviously they're the ones that are going out and wanting to win championships, whether they're buying them or not. Who cares? They're playing within the rules and they're making it happen. And like, to me, I would like to see a Cleveland, or I would like to see a Tampa Bay Rays, or whoever go out and do that. and defer some money. If I was still playing, I would love to defer money. I mean, we still celebrate Bobby Bonilla Day. He gets like $1.2 million, whatever.
I don't
day it is.
celebrate any of that. I'm not a Met fan.
But it's deferred money's been happening for years. You just didn't hear about it as much. Like Ken
Because
Griffey
it was
Jr.
an
had,
escape of the contract, not a strategy actually used to sign the contract originally.
but
Yeah, but-
necessarily that's not true because Ken Griffey Jr. has done it, and the Reds weren't paying any money. He was the highest paid player on a Reds team before Votto, making like 3.5 in the deferred. So
Bro, but
it's happened.
Not only this, but you guys were talking about like a handful of contracts throughout the whole major league that are being deferred. It's not like everybody's getting deferred money. It's just the teams that are wanting and willing to do it are going to do it, and the other teams aren't doing it. And
Well,
that's
you got to
on
also
them.
remember, Goody, it's not only the team; it's the player as well. Being able,
Yeah,
to
they have
put
to
money the
agree
things
to
for
it.
It's
Exactly.
like getting that like win for life scratch off ticket.
Yeah.
Do you
where
take the
just
lump
get-
sum or the? the
Well,
Yeah.
you know, they
Yeah.
say to take the lump sum so you can invest it and make that number grow, right? But if you didn't, you
My
still
grandma
would be
won.
able to win for life. Really, that's amazing.
She
I've,
won
like,
$1
had
million
so many
bucks on the
daydreams.
scratch off.
That's amazing, dude. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever broken like 500, but whatever. It'll happen one day.
You
But,
take the lump
yeah,
sum.
I think that's what you do. But regardless, say you didn't, that's basically what these contracts are. You just keep getting a check every year or however they set it up. That's amazing. I would love that. But at the same time, if it's being weaponized as a way to skirt the rules of the luxury tax, they need to do something. Is the salary cap the right thing to do? Of course not. That's first off, salary caps are basically socialist constructs if we're going to get political, which I would normally support, except here in this situation, it keeps people's
No
money
liberal
down.
stuff on this show, buddy.
I'm trying to tell you, first off, socialist and liberal is different, but you guys don't know anything about the difference between those two
Oh, I'm
things.
sorry.
It's all the same to you.
Mr.
But
Economics teacher over here.
it's all the same to you
Mr.
guys.
Hillary history buff.
I'm going to call you
Hillary.
Hillary Clinton now, okay? I'm going to call you
No, we're not going there. We're not going there with this.
Hillary Clinton. I actually was
Hillary.
trying to take shots at
Hillary.
it, but that's okay. You guys don't even realize I'm on your side. It's unbelievable, but that's the world we live in. It's okay. You know, I'm just trying to tell you. I'm just trying to tell you how it is. It's pretty sad that they're going to keep the money down in people's hands. That's all it's going to be. It's the money's going to go to the owners, and it's not going to go to the players. They could try all they want. If they have a salary cap, that's what's happening. They're going to keep contracts down. It forces salaries down. That's part of why the NBA has been able to do it for so long, and they had to compromise in a couple of CBAs ago with the max and now the super max, and it got out of control. So now they have the first apron and the second apron. You guys don't want to deal with that nonsense. It is out of control.
We don't want that. Just
how it
defer it and let's keep it rolling. We're already
Defer
making enough
fine.
changes to the game of baseball. Let's not mess with them.
Maybe
Let's
they
not
have a
mess with
rule
the
about
contract.
how much you can defer, but besides that, I think it should be fine.
All right, Poops. What do you got?
I just think it's funny that it's allowed to this extent that we've seen, like Speedy likes to call them the Los Angeles defers. But I agree.
That was me, by the way, not.
Oh, okay.
not
Well,
Speedy.
No, I actually think it was one of our guests that did it first.
well, whoever is listening that came up with that, thank you. But I agree. It's somewhat ridiculous, but I don't know. I like you guys mentioned too. Ultimately, it's not going to end up happening.
By the way, if you guys are, obviously, Goody, you were bringing up, I think you were the one that just said it, or maybe Speedy just said it. Well, other teams can spend the money, so why don't they do that? So in the CBA rule, I guess if you're saying there shouldn't be a cap, there has to be something that the team should be spending a certain amount of money where it kind of, it
Elevates the playing field, yeah.
Makes it a playing field, because I just think that this isn't working and this is not helping baseball. To watch the Dodgers go to the World Series every single year, to me, is not what I think is going to be fair. Again, everybody's saying that the game is rigged and sports is rigged now and it's become a business. Well, if the Dodgers are making the game a business, it's ruining the game. And
It's
that's
always
all
been
I'm
a
going to say.
business.
That's all I'm
It's
saying.
always been a business.
No, not
You're
true.
You're just starting to
Not
see
true.
it now. Oh, it's
I
always
mean, in
been a
the
business.
80s, it wasn't really like that. I mean, seriously.
It's more like corporate than it ever was, if
Yeah.
that's a way to describe it. It's a different type of business. It's not the family, like you attached to the owner. It's like there was this like scion in the town, like a Paul Brown or a George Steinbrenner, that you got guys just knew, and it was like, that's our guy. Now it's a lot more like horse trading going on with ownership.
Oh God, please don't bring it. We'll reach out to somebody that knows all about horse training. You know who I'm talking about, Jason Worth, ex-baseball player. Anyways, that is up. That is it for Dial It Up, our first time segment. Fantastic. 3 good stories, good arguments, and everybody got their take on it. I think it's definitely cuttable, stuff that we're going to put out on social media. So it was great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to go to a sports minute because we're a little bit over the time. So we have a new game, and we've been doing it. Or I think we've done it once or twice, and now we'll do it again. Sound it out.
Big roll here. Jay Quellen. Where's Jay Quellen at? No Jay Quellen here?
Do you mean Jacqueline?
Let's sound it out.
What you call me?
Sound it out.
Phonic show.
Oh, God. Here we go.
All right, welcome back to Sound It Out, everyone's favorite game where Errol gets to pronounce football,
You get to laugh
hockey,
at me. There we go.
basketball, and whatever other sport we can find the name of that probably he won't be able to get tonight. We have 3 good ones. Speedy contributed 2 of them tonight, so they're going to be real complicated. The first one is one of my favorites. Errol, we have a football field on the screen. Can you sound it out? Here
I'm
he
waiting
comes.
for the name. There it is.
Went
all
to
right.
Michigan.
All right.
For the Panthers.
Carl loves it.
All right. Okay, hold on.
Today, Junior.
All right. Shemanga Biakabatsuka. Okay.
Bazooka.
Biakadubaka, whatever the hell his name is.
That was not really sure on the first name, but that's Tim Biakabatuka, the great Michigan running back that played a little bit in Carolina.
I remember him, but I can't pronounce his name.
Biakabatuka.
I think he was on that Rose Bowl team in the mid '90s for Michigan.
I remember. Yeah.
All right, 0 for 1, Errol. But the chances will change as time goes on. We go to the ice.
Sure. All right,
Errol, sound it out.
Oh, okay. Uka Pekka Lukenin.
Speedy.
It was actually like pretty 90% to 95% accurate. Very
All
good.
right. So what was wrong about it, Speedy?
It's Luke Cunnin, but Luke Cannon it's pretty close. I think that's good.
All
right.
For Errol, that's a win. We'll give him the win on that one. He's 1 for 2, batting .500. Can he stay or go above 50%?
Not bad for a first grade education there, Errol.
Yeah. I bet you couldn't sound it out either. Big mouth.
Puka 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 lukanurin.
All right, we go to the diamond for one final name. Sound it out.
Oh my God.
Oh, I can.
Met.
All right. Okay. Huskar Brazobanian.
No.
What?
Brazoban.
That's like
Brazoban. Huskar Brazoban.
Halskar Brazoban.
Is Waskar Brazoban.
Waskar Brazoban. Errol 1 for 3, batting .330. Good enough for the All-Star game, but not good enough to win today's. Sound it out.
Thank you. Thank you for embarrassing me right there. All right. Yeah, there you go. Sound it out as I screwed up every bit of those names, as I usually do, as my, people and agents have told me, you got to clean your name calling up. Yeah, well, right. When you have names like that, I want to throw the hell up. Anyways, we're waiting for the jobster. He's probably laying some kisses on somebody. I don't know. Speedy, what do you think? Is he kissing somebody?
That's meant to be the one to consult that. You need somebody that knows those types of sounds.
All right, there's somebody that isn't kissing anybody, and that is Alexander Ovechkin. And if he is, he's only kissing a net. Saturday versus the Oilers, Alexander Ovechkin got a hat trick, giving him 882 goals now in his career. This puts him just 13 goals away from Wayne Gretzky's record, which he has held since 1999. Ovechkin now has a hat trick against 20 NHL franchises, most all time. Ovechkin has 29 goals in 41 games this season, also missing time with a broken leg for almost 6 weeks. Ovechkin's current pace is about 0.7 goals per game. So if he keeps this pace up, he will get 17 goals, which would break this record this season. Well, by the way, congratulations to Ovechkin, one of the greatest goal scorers of all time. I honestly believe that Mario Lemieux would have broken it if he didn't have leukemia and he was out of the league for almost 5.5 years. But I'm not taking anything away from him. He's one of the best goal scorers we've ever seen. I honestly, in the last 15 years, I don't think you can see anybody doing what this man has done in 10 straight seasons, 50 or more goals. He's been incredible for the Washington Capitals that has won a championship over there. And also, when you look at what he has done for the Washington Capitals and Washington, D.C. as a whole, he's put hockey on the map. He's really built, obviously a sport that is growing throughout the country. And one of the biggest places it's growing is Washington, D.C. As a matter of fact, there are 6 ice rinks built around the Washington city, all around the Washington D.C. area, and it's growing as a sport over there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the exact number, but 10 players in the last 15 years have been drafted from Washington. So I mean, it's growing. Obviously, here in New York, it's been incredible, and one of the big guys that have taken the sport to that next level is Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, and who doesn't remember those great playoff games with Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby, the two greatest hockey players of this last generation, this last decade. If you can argue, I mean, you can argue who's been better, him or Sidney Crosby. It's been incredible. It's been an incredible run for Ovechkin. He will break the record. I guarantee you. I don't think it's going to be this year. So for all the fans that are waiting this year, it's not going to happen this year. It will happen early next year. And I think after he breaks the record, he will retire after next year. So congratulations to Ovechkin, the hat trick. He's been an amazing player for all these years.
Yeah, you talk about longevity with a lot of these legendary players, and for somebody with his kind of playing style too, that is very physical, likes to hit, likes to start a lot of these, not necessarily fights like Tom Wilson does, but very physical style of play. Like, you didn't know how he was going to age when especially with the less talent around him. That Washington, it seemed like they were getting younger. It seemed like they were going to have to start to rebuild, and then all of a sudden they're still number one in the Metropolitan Division. I think number one in the Eastern Conference right now. But a big reason with it is still Ovechkin missing 6 weeks and still has 29 goals. Still
and great goaltending. Don't kid yourself.
Oh no doubt. And it's one of those things where I think they're rallying around that kind of thing. Like, we were thinking going into the year, like, okay, Washington's just going to have the celebrity showcase of, okay, Alex Ovechkin going to watch the goal record. There's going to be a countdown. Like, is the team actually still going to be that much better? And he's also elevating the team at the same time, in addition to scoring all these goals, still doing everything that he can. And yeah, right. I'm still like, there's going to be some like pressure to finish it off this season. I agree with you. I kind of feel like it's more next season, more likely, because again, he's going to stay healthy again. But the fact that he's done it this well, this often in the last 2 years is still very incredible. And I do think he definitely breaks it next year. It's a storyline the NHL is going to want to start the season with too, to get people watching right away. I do think he breaks it next year. I think he gets 900. I agree with you. He'll retire after that as one of the greats.
No, and I think, you guys bring up a great point with what they've done in the last 15 years. Think about all the guys that have came in hockey where, even you talk about the New York area, the Washington area, like, even think about like us, like my son played hockey and we had one rink and that was it. And we had a USHL team and, we've had Brian Bolig, Jared Backus. We've had guys that have played, for the Stars and, obviously Rutger McGorty being from here and things like that. It's grown not only in these big metropolitan areas, it's grown in places like Lincoln, Nebraska, where now we've, had 2 more ice rinks. We got one of the largest YMCAs that put in, a rink with a bunch of auxiliary, like just a bunch of things that, my son got to experience early in his. He ended up picking basketball over hockey, but I think what they've done and the guys that have came into the game and, you see Ovi and we had all the guys that, Gordie Howe and the Wayne Gretzky's and, even guys like the fighters and the Ty Domies and people of that nature and the Roenics and everything like that, where I think they've just grown the game so much. And we just saw the 4 nations and how, people have, embedded themselves because they may have been the casual hockey fan or just like, oh, it's on, but they've seen exactly what it's become. And, it's guys like this in the last 15, 20 years when social media has kind of been, at the forefront of getting these players out on maybe a lesser known sport, because it was very specific in hockey in certain aspects, but it's grown so much. And like they say, records are meant to be broke, right? And obviously, breaking Wayne Gretzky's record is unbelievable, and he's still doing it at 39 in a sport where they do stuff on skates that I can't do walking on my own 2 feet. And it's impressive. And I think, to his credit, and the way he's been able to do it for so long, and the way he's done it, and I think that's one of the coolest things about hockey, and how the guys that you've seen come in the last 10, 15 years. And Stammer had a great run with the Lightning when they were winning, and you've seen guys like that. And I just think it's fun to see. I think you're right. I think it's a little bit of a push to think he's going to get it this year, but he's definitely going to get it, and he's going to be done, and it's going to be celebrated, and it should be. And the one thing I look at it as a dad, and Goody, you can kind of relate to this as well, is like, when he got the hat trick, and he took time away just to go give his son a fist pound through the glass. Like, that's the coolest thing for me to see, that he still is realizing that, I'm still a dad and my son's there, and he went over and did that. So, hats off to him. And, I can only, celebrate him and how they have grown the sport, not only in just one direction. They've kind of grown it over the world, and how it's kind of, grabbed onto the coattails of people that necessarily weren't really hockey fans, and watched it and understood it, and they just starting to love it. And once you go to a game, it's different. Now they're watching it, they're seeing what happens. But yeah, it's definitely growing, and it has a lot to do with these guys that are doing these things today.
I grew up, and these guys were part of my life. I feel like ever since I was really watching hockey, and they came back to get into the league together after the lockout, right, Errol? There was the lockout, and like they were drafted number 1 year after year, but since they didn't have that year, they came in the same year, Crosby and Ovechkin. And outside of Islanders games, which I always would go to at the Garden, the only teams I really wanted to see us play were the Caps and the Penguins. And I would try to go to those games because you get so much more energy. And I go to other games. I'd go to different places and watch the Rangers play. But I'll tell you, it's really something special watching the best player. He's the best. He's so talented. Every time he touched the puck when he was a little younger, you just would gasp and you'd hold your breath. And you just knew that he could beat the best players in the world. I showed you highlights of him beating Lundqvist with a crazy goal, beating Brodeur with a crazy goal, cutting through some of the best defenders in the world. He could do whatever he wanted on the ice. It was incredible. And the fact that he still can, 13 goals, he's trailing Gretzky by 13. He's got 25 games left. There's a chance he gets it by the end of the year. It's going to be real close. I don't know. You said the NHL might like it for the beginning of next year. You might be right about that. And, he probably will sit some games because they're going to be clinching a spot anyway. So it might not be that important for him. But I'll tell you what, it's going to be real exciting when he passes it, because this is a record nobody thought would ever be broken. Now, the Gretzky point record is not going to be broken. I don't think that's ever getting touched, because he had twice as many assists as he did goals.
Well, he also played in a time that,
the scoring was different for sure. No one was in the butterfly style back then, right? Yeah. Everyone's standing up. It was a lot easier to get goals in. There were different rules in the crease back then. So, it was a different game. You're absolutely right. And we've seen scoring come down since those early 80s Gretzky teams, mid 80s Gretzky teams. Ovechkin's special, and I hated him, but at the same time, you always respected him. I hope he's the one that has this record going forwards.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to watch, dude, especially because when you see the home run derby ticker and all that they had going on for Barry Bonds when he was getting close to breaking that record, and the Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, you look at it and what ESPN and all the major sports outlets were covering. I think it'd be cool whether he gets it this year or next year. I think it'll be a good storyline. Obviously, it will be the storyline for hockey and the NHL. And so, I'm excited just to watch it. And anytime you can watch greatness on the ice, like, it's must-see TV.
By the way, records are meant to be broken. So I expect this record. I don't think we'll ever see Joe DiMaggio's record ever be broken in consecutive games. I don't think we'll ever see that, because baseball.
Well, that's Cal Ripken, not
hits. I'm sorry, hits. I flipped it. They hit 59 consecutive hit games.
56. 56.
I think Joe DiMaggio's record will never be broken. We've seen people come close, but fallen short plenty of times. I remember when Ellsbury was there. I think he was like 40-something games when he was playing for the Boston Red Sox, or 40, 47 games, or 46 games.
43.
43. So there you go. So I don't know the exact number, but I do know that it's records are meant to be broken. There's just certain records I just don't think will get broken. But it's a great. I thought that this record was going to be broken. If Mario Lemieux, like I said, played as long as he should have, he would have definitely broken that record. I mean, if you look at the consistency that he was when he was playing for the Pittsburgh Penguins in the 80s and the 90s, he was sensational. He also played with Jaromir Jagr and Mark Recchi and then Rob Brind'Amour. I mean, these teams were sensational. They won 2 championships with a just dynamic team. And like I said, if you would ask me right now, who are the two best players in hockey in the last 15 years, there's no argument. It's Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin. And right now, it's just Connor McDavid. I mean, there's nobody that's challenging. You saw in that, in that All-Star game, whatever you call it, they went to overtime, and who does the puck go to? It goes to the greatest player in the world, and he just buries it in the net against one of the great goaltenders, one of the top 5 goalies in the league. So greatness is right there. And who knows, maybe Connor McDavid breaks that record eventually. I don't know. It's all about longevity and consistency. And Ovechkin was all of that, and very well deserved. He is a sensational hockey player and will go down, if you want to argue something, the greatest Russian to ever play professional hockey. So that's a great story. It really is. And I like Ovechkin, and he stands for a lot for Washington. Look at what him and his wife do right now for Washington, D.C. They have been the face of Washington sports. It's been amazing. You talk about Bryce Harper and Juan Soto. Those guys didn't even stay there. This guy has been there his whole career. He could have left. He decided to stay there and build Washington hockey. It's an amazing story, and won a title over there for Washington. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the final segment of the night, as we do this every single week, we call this What's That Smell?
What is that smell?
What's that smell?
Wow. You don't see that every day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the final segment of the night. It's been a long one, but not that long. Shane Greene has been sensational. He was a great interview, and we're very happy to have him on. And thank you for spending the time with us. All right, so what's that smell? It's pretty simple. You give us a story of something that's happened in sports or anything going on in the world, and you tell us what it smells like. We'll go Fish tonight, Goody, Speedy, Scoops, Joba me. Here we go.
All right. Starting off with the smell of menthol for the Icy Hot. That's going to be on the oblique of Sean Manaea, who is going to miss opening day. Going to start the season for the Mets on the IL. They already lost Frankie Montas to a lat. We got lots of sides and upper sides being sore, boys. Layer on that Icy Hot. Smell up that menthol.
All right. Well, for my smell, this smell smells like a stinky foot. Maybe some athlete's toe. I don't know. Athlete's foot. Some dirty feet. But it's LeVar Ball taking the top spot on the Cameo. If you're unfamiliar with Cameo, it's an app that you can request famous people, whoever you want, to come on, and you pay them a fee, and they'll give you a shout out. If you want, if I'm on Cameo, that's how I know that LeVar Ball is the top dog on Cameo. Anyways, for me, it sounds like, or it smells like Big Baller Brand went bankrupt, and he might be in the hole.
All right, so I'm going to go to, we were talking about the Jonte Porter scandal last year with betting, manipulating his own bets to the unders. How about a whole college basketball team that just got being investigated for? 3 members of Fresno State have been suspended from placing bets for their unders for points and rebounds. So they're the Fresno State Bulldogs. So what does it smell like? It smells like the sweat and blood of a bulldog ramming into Bulldogs alum Paul George's ass when he's in surgery.
My dad's alumni of Fresno State. That's not the kind of picture I think he wants there, Speedy.
You can send that to your father. I think he'll enjoy that.
It needs to be Speedy that gifts it to him. Speedy needs to gift it to him.
Yeah, somebody's got to gift something. Go ahead, Boops.
That's Paul George.
All right. So over the weekend, Plaxico Burress actually announced that he sold actually his Super Bowl 42 ring for $280,000.
Somebody needs money.
Yeah, I mean, as a Giants fan, it's hard to see, a guy who won the Super Bowl for you, one of the most memorable postseason runs in all of history, across all pro sports. Then for him to shoot himself in the leg, then become a New York Jet, which is probably the same exact pain. Now selling the same ring for what he caught the remarkable.
Of course, he has to bring up the Jets. This is
it's history.
This is
We almost made it through a whole show without the Jets.
Yeah,
hey, it's from me though, not from him.
It's Giant fans. I don't bring up the Jets at all. It's you guys that bring up the Jets.
Yeah, see, today's the I'm bringing up the Jets. So honestly,
typical Giant fan.
Honestly, it might not fit the same context, but it smells like Brokeback Mountain, if you know what I mean.
No.
Oh.
I have no
An
idea.
Oscar award-winning movie.
Yeah, the Oscar award-winning movie. You said it yourself, Fish.
It's Oscar award-winning. That's for sure.
One of Errol's favorites.
No, actually, I've never seen the movie. I've never watched the movie, and I never will.
More like Bert and Ernie.
Ooh.
That's disgusting.
You don't know that's
All
what
right,
that's
guys.
supposed to be?
Yes,
No,
that's exactly what it is.
I don't want to think
Exactly what
about
it's supposed to be.
I don't want to think about it. Go ahead, Java.
No, mine is, and I've said this, and we've had to talk about this clown before, and Joel Embiid, but I'm going to kind of move a little bit in how Boogie Cousins came on and talked about, oh, he's going to get this, he's going to have surgery. Mine smells a little bit like the fridge is too open because you got some rancid food where this dude's just gaining weight, and Boogie's like, you need to lose 40 pounds because you're going to be a big man and try to do this. And you need to lose weight and get back to being what you are. And so for me, that smells like a big ass fridge with a lot of food in it. And some might be rancid because it ain't working for him.
Very interesting, Java. That's very interesting.
Goodness. Smells like icy hot, a dirty foot, bulldog sweat, rammed in an asshole, Bert and Ernie, a rancid fridge.
I just said menthol. I was the nicest one tonight.
Yeah, well, you don't want to put icy hot at any part of your body, including your testicles. That's for sure.
We're getting better at what's that smell, though.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the final what's that smell goes to United States and Canadian hockey. After the tournament, Connor McDavid scoring the game-winning goal, there was a lot of cheer and a lot of craziness, but two cheers and two craziness came from one player from the United States, Matthew Tkachuk, who came out and said, hey, it's not my fault they don't text each other. And then Brandon Hagel came out after winning the championship and said, hey, you know what? I did it for my flag, not for the cameras. So it's an interesting argument for both teams. Obviously, this is going to stir up stuff for Team USA coming into the Olympics next year, as Brandon Hagel didn't do much for Team Canada, but has said a lot throughout the last couple of days of the tournament, and both teams yapping at each other only stirs up more questions on what could happen at the Olympics. So you know what it smells like? It smells like Jabba dipping his balls into crotch rot. That's what it smells like. So
wouldn't I already have crotch rot? Like
I don't know, but whatever you're dipping, it definitely smells like crap.
Dip it in, right? I didn't think I had to dip it in.
I didn't know crotch rot was a dippable substance, but
yeah, it's like a deer antler spray. You just put it on.
We get a little Fermunda cheese every once in a while.
Oh God,
but...
please! Now I'm really getting sick. Now I'm definitely not having any pizza tonight. I was about to have some pizza. No, I'm not eating pizza tonight.
Earl, it's 11:30. Goodness.
Well.
You're gonna eat pizza?
What do you
You're
think?
gonna be
First
on
of all, I
that
haven't eaten.
freaking
Just so you
Jola
know,
he's gonna be on that Embiid diet.
Just so you have, I haven't eaten anything practically all day. So I have to eat something, or I'm just really messing up my stomach.
You didn't have your gallon of applesauce?
Nothing. I haven't had nothing tonight.
And your quart of honey mustard?
I've had water. I have nothing.
Vat of Alfredo sauce.
Nothing. I've had nothing all day.
That water?
So
that water?
Nothing. And I was at the gym. So I need to eat something. My stomach.
You didn't even have a protein shake or
nothing.
anything?
Nothing. I don't drink protein shakes. I don't think they're not very good for the pit of your stomach, and it stays in the pit of your stomach for 72 hours, and it's not good for your liver and your kidneys. So I don't drink.
Well, first of all, your shit isn't working anyways because you still haven't passed your kidney stones. So
No, I did. I passed the main
That's
one.
the golf
I
clap
passed
of the
main
day.
one.
oh
You
yeah,
passed
why
them?
wasn't that the golf clap? You didn't fill us in
No,
on that.
no. Well, first of all, I'm supposed to do a 24-hour urine, thing that my doctor wants me to do.
A
But
urine
it
analysis?
did. Yeah. Well, no, it's not a urinalysis. It's something else that they want me to do to check why this is causing the kidney stones, and it's not a urinalysis because it would just be one bottle. It's a 24-hour. I forget what it's called. It's like a weird thing, but I'm supposed to do it. I haven't done it yet, but I did pass it. As far as him saying it passed through the tube. It was sitting in the bladder after my CAT scan, so he thinks that I definitely passed it. But the other ones are still there, and he wants to know why there's a cause. So
Well,
I'm
you
gonna be.
kept us up to date and you didn't update us on that one.
You know what
man?
it is because
We're on this journey with you, dog. We're on
Oh,
this journey with
this
you.
is a journey, man, and it's a journey of pain. Okay.
What are you going
We're
to
on
name
this
them?
with you.
I haven't named it because I haven't caught it. I thought I was going to catch it. And now the doctor's worried that, if this continues happening, it's going to cause even more problems. So I have to investigate it even more deeper. And I mean deep, Speedy. You know all about deepness, right?
I'll trust the medical professional.
Well, you
Y'all-
got to get the hand, you got to get the fist in it, right?
Y'all two are in the
Medical
same studio
How about
over
the
there. I
tongue?
wonder
Did you
about
get your
Sweet Tooth.
tongue? Did you get the tongue?
Oh, now I'm gonna get sick.
Speedy, would you stick your
Seems ineffective.
Have you ever put crotch rot on your tongue?
That's Java's expertise, not mine.
That's Speedy. Don't put that on me.
Speedy,
I'm
do you
not
know what
putting that on
crotch
you.
rot is?
You or his? What's that smell? Not me.
Goodness.
That is not worth it.
Speedy, you don't want crotch rot. I don't think you know exactly what it is.
Disturbing
Really?
behavior.
All I know is I was on
Got
the
it.
subject of his "What's that smell?" That was Java.
Enjoy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for our show. Thank you thank you to Shane Greene. I'm lost. Thank you to Shane Greene for joining us. He was fantastic. Gave us a good hour in content. It was fantastic. And thank you to Shane. I know he's been busy working on his house and getting ready to sell it because he's got to make a tally of money. So shout out to Shane. We really appreciate you. Definitely get you on very, very soon. Thank you to all the fans. Thank you to everybody, following us on our social medias. We hit 15,000 followers on TikTok. So thank you to the fans. Keep following us. Keep, tuning in. Follow us on YouTube. Guys, we have great content on YouTube, cuts. So check out YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Spotify, all of it. Apple. We're on every single platform. We're on 15 other platforms on the Audio Center. Odyssey. Thank you to Odyssey for letting us, post up our stuff on your profiles and your platform. So thank you to them. Thank you to all the fans. Keep tuning in. Who do we have on Wednesdays?
All right, a man of many talents coming back on at 8:30. Mark Pattison, ex-NFL receiver and also 7 Summits mountain climber, so climbing the top 7 mountains in the world. Sports Illustrated executive and Emmy Award winner Mark Pattison.
Yeah, he loves coming on this show. And Mark, he's the creator now, the back end creator of what's going on with Sports Illustrated, and he loves coming on the show. He thinks we're crazy, and he loves shooting the crap with us. So we're excited to get Mark back on, and he's doing some big things right now, and he's climbing more mountains, Speedy. Maybe we should introduce him to your mom. That's
She's short. She's 5'4".
Goodness.
Well, that's a mountain I definitely want to climb. Anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back on Wednesday.
Cut him off. Cut him off.
Good night.
Cut him. Fish, cut his mic.
A worldwide sports radio network.
Goodness.